What's going on, fellow A-plusers? It's your boy, as always, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming for you guys live over on our YouTube page, also over on Facebook, as well as Twitch for you gamers out there, guys. So thank you so much for certainly joining us here for a brand new episode, as we're going to be wrapping up your week, certainly the right way. It's not just myself here today. Oh, no. We've got good old Stuart Branscombe in the house as my co-host, certainly going to go ahead and ride with me this weekend as we give you guys some honorable mentions, some main topics, and of course your live viewer questions to certainly go ahead and end off the show. If you guys are big Spotify users, you can actually find us on Spotify if you prefer audio versions of our show. There is a link in the description box below. Definitely go ahead, if you got a Spotify, go ahead and follow us over there as well, guys, because sometimes we do drop audio versions of some of the content that we have here over on our YouTube page. But it's good to see everybody, man. We weren't here last weekend. I know we had a little bit of an impromptu sort of event, if you will. We had Power Morphicon last week. Good old Stuart was there out in, was it Pasadena, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
Good old Pasadena, bringing some fantastic coverage to the channel, guys. So I hope a lot of you Power Ranger fans are certainly pleased with some of the coverage that we had and some of the videos that we wind up producing for you guys. But A-Plus Hero Report is in fact back this weekend. There was just no way, Stuart, that we were going to be able to juggle all of that plus news for Hero Report, man. But I'm glad that we decided to give some focus to A-Plus More Phenomenal. I personally really enjoy doing convention coverage on the channel myself personally.
Yeah, it like I said last week, it was an absolute blast. And I don't know, I kind of consider that Cosmic Fury video that we did to be like our, hero report of that week's pretty much. It was just a very late hero report. We only had one topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it definitely did certainly work out that way. But we definitely have a couple of topics for you guys we're going to be breaking down. And actually, believe it or not, Jin Saku reached out to me this week because we were getting ready to wrap up our Cosmic Fury video, and then all of a sudden I do remember I sent out an invite to Jinsaku along with Matt Aguilar from comicbook.com, and Jinsaku wound up popping up in audio version only very briefly for us. I was like, oh, I think he's here, but unfortunately we weren't able to get him. But he did reach out to me. So if anything, I think tomorrow, Stuart, I think sometime maybe tomorrow, we might be doing a live video, me and Jinsaku certainly talking about some Power Ranger stuff. But I'll definitely keep everybody posted. I haven't figured out if we're going to be doing it live or pre-recorded yet. If anything, I might certainly do it live for you guys, but we'll definitely go ahead and certainly keep you posted when me and Jinsaku do connect for tomorrow. So keep an eye out on the community tab and over on Twitter for any announcements, as well as our Facebook page for that.
More Power Ranger content, yeah.
Yeah, there's probably at least another video coming for you guys this week for more Power Ranger content. But Stuart, let's go ahead and start diving into some of our honorable mentions here before we get into our main topics. Our honorable mentions are pretty much topics that we felt you certainly deserve to still know about, but didn't necessarily make the cut for our main 6 topics here today. So Stuart, do you have an honorable mention you want to share with anybody? Any recommendations this week, my guy?
Come back to me on that after you do yours, because
okay.
Yeah, I got one, but I'm not sure if you already have it.
Yeah, no problem. Let me go ahead and pull up my honorable mentions then. Real quick, for those of you who had the opportunity to check out the most recent episode of She-Hulk, we got ourselves quite the great cameo. A lot of fun, honestly, with the Megan Thee Stallion dropping by in the She-Hulk episode this week. Shout out to Indy, who's doing great work on his She-Hulk reviews for the channel. If you have not checked out our reviews, we do have the first 3 episode reviews up by Indy over on our YouTube page. Certainly go ahead and check those out for yourself. But I've really enjoyed the season that we've gotten so far. A lot of laughter, to certainly say the least. I know my girlfriend is absolutely eating it up. I did not expect the Megan Thee Stallion cameo in the episode, and I certainly was not expecting the little drop it like it's hot moment towards the end as we see She-Hulk and Megan Thee Stallion twerking. But I gotta say, Stuart, we actually this week wind up getting ourselves some behind the scene photos of that particular scene being filmed with good old Tatiana Maslany breaking it down a little bit. As in recent interviews, she really has mentioned how much she absolutely loves Megan the Stallion. I think that line that we see at the end of She-Hulk, where she says, "I would kill for you, Megan the Stallion." I'm pretty sure Tatiana Maslany certainly would, but she looks like she's having a good time. They both certainly are. What do you think about the behind-the-scenes image here for this recent episode, Stuart?
I mean, I thought the scene itself in the episode was freaking hilarious, and just seeing the actors going completely nuts and having this much fun is, just a blast to me. I love it. I love it when actors are really that much into their role where it's like they can actually have that much fun, like in real life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's just funny to me because Megan on her own is so incredibly tall. And then she's also got the massive heels on here. And then you just see, like, in comparison, not only how small Tatiana Maslany is, but the fact that she also needs like a step up crate, like a step up stage to even get to the height of She-Hulk, which is pretty much almost as even as Megan the Stallion, it feels like. But I just love seeing the behind the scenes working with the motion capture and everything, and really how they kind of bring those scenes to life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But great stuff there, guys, if you haven't checked it out. But yeah, go ahead and check out episode 3 of She-Hulk if you have not done so as of yet. Let's see here. What else we got? We also got ourselves an announcement that Harley Quinn season 4 has in fact been renewed. Season 4, baby. I know we had a couple people asking whether or not, with everything going on with Warner Brothers Discovery, which shows certainly might be coming back to HBO Max, what certainly may not. Harley Quinn certainly makes the cut. Does this surprise you, Stuart, or you saw this coming?
I'm not super surprised, as much as I, have been giving David Zaslav a lot of shit recently for like a lot of his decisions. I think that even he has to know that you got to keep some of the content that people really like on there. And since Harley Quinn is a really popular show, it would have been a really, really big mistake on top of his many other big mistakes to, cancel that show. So yeah, good on him for keeping that one going at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that he recognizes the powerful IPs that he has, the big properties that really draw eyes. And, despite them really wanting to cut back on scripted television for HBO Max, I still think that they definitely will have their handful of series and stuff that they will continue to do, especially if it continues to bring eyes. So Harley Quinn season 4 is definitely set and ready to go. They are currently already working on a new season of Titans and Doom Patrol. So I am expecting at least one more season of both of those shows, and whether or not they get renewed for an additional one, we'll definitely have to see how that goes. But Harley Quinn season 4 is very much safe at this point. And then let's see here. There's another one. You know what, Stuart? I did not even know that we have ourselves a brand new Hellraiser movie.
Neither did I. Yeah.
This thing came out of nowhere for me this past weekend. Entertainment Weekly wind up not only dropping a brand new article, which I recommend you guys certainly check out, but brand new photos for the upcoming Hellraiser movie itself. They've got director David Bruckner that's been attached to go ahead and reboot the series. I will read off some of the things that David Bruckner mentions about this while bringing up brand new photos for you guys. So it says he was talking about his time in watching Hellraiser, the classic 1987 horror movie, as a kid. He says it was so visceral and so impactful. He says it was a movie that really, really scared me. It's digging into things that are so troubling that I was almost afraid of the people that created it. So he does go on to clarify again that this is a Hellraiser movie. It is set to go ahead and premiere on Hulu October 7th. And he says this is not a remake. I just didn't think you could ever remake the original Hellraiser. It's too much its own thing, and it would be, I think, perilous territory for filmmakers, because how do you top that? So this is a new story in the Hellraiser universe, is what they mentioned. And it says it's a tale of a young woman who's struggling with addiction and compulsive behavior that comes in contact accidentally with the box, and unfortunately begins to dabble with it, and chaos ensues, is what they state here. So this is our brand new Pinhead here, played by the Sense8 actress Jamie Clayton. So this is in fact our very new Pinhead, along with some brand new additional photos that Entertainment Weekly went ahead and revealed to us, along with some really creepy designs. Stuart, I mean, I know you're probably a big horror fan here. Have you ever seen Hellraiser? And if so, what are your initial thoughts on it and just the idea of them tackling another film?
I mean, I haven't watched the Hellraiser movies since like high school. In fact, there's actually like a lot of them that I didn't even know existed. I always thought like Hellraiser only had like a couple sequels, but then like, actually looking at it, there's like 8 of them. So I kind of have a plan to eventually go back and watch all of them together. So I might do that leading up to this reboot coming out. But yeah, I also read the article about it. And one thing that gets me kind of excited is that the original actor for Hellraiser is an executive producer on this movie, and he's kind of there giving a lot of his feedback on it. And he seems to be extremely happy with the way it's turning out. And, despite this being a complete, reboot and everything, looking at some of the designs like this one here, and then there was another one that they kind of showed in a promo photo. I'm not sure if we have that photo on here.
I don't believe so.
But regardless, like the designs look very much like in line with the designs we've gotten in past Hellraiser movies. And it looks like it's just going to be a fun, really scary ride. So I'm definitely all for it. One thing I like to say a lot of times is when it comes to rebooting a franchise, if you want to get the fans, into this, if you want to get the fans excited, I think the easiest way to do it is to make sure that the person you got, like, rebooting this is also, to a degree, a fan as well. And it sounds like the director, from what you were talking about, and then from everything I've read, it sounds like he's a really big fan of the franchise. So yeah, everything I'm hearing about this sounds really good.
Yeah, I agree too. I'm really going to be looking forward to it. Clearly, I just still want to see a trailer here first. Hopefully, we'll get one pretty soon if they haven't released one already. Again, this is set to go ahead and drop, I think, October 7th. So we have like just literally about a month to go. So I definitely want to go ahead and check out a trailer if they have one out. So I certainly might have to go ahead and certainly do that. But I remember Hellraiser for me as a kid used to terrify me. I don't think I actually even finished the first film. It was just that, like, I just never went back and challenged myself to go ahead and see it after I saw it as a kid. And I was just like, nope, I'm good. I'm good there. But listen, Hulu just went ahead and dropped Prey, which was a fantastic film. This looks like this is going to be another Hulu sort of original movie. Hopefully they can keep the quality of their films going here. So I definitely will go ahead and check out this Hellraiser film. So mark your calendars, guys, for October 7th.
If Hulu's going to become like the new hub for like rebooting horror movies, I wonder if they're going to get around to the Saw franchise eventually.
Do we need another Saw reboot already? What was the last one we had? Was the Chris Rock one, right?
Yeah, it wasn't really a reboot. It was just kind of like it was like a weird like thing where it took place in that universe, but there was another person like doing the
copycat.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll definitely keep you guys posted. But yeah, Hellraiser will be dropping on Hulu. And then last but not least, Stuart, I don't know if this is one that you were looking to talk about or not. Winnie the Pooh. Blood and Honey is back in the news again as we got ourselves an official trailer here this week. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to check it out at all, Stuart. Did you know we had one?
I didn't know we had a trailer, no, but I do remember talking about this with you a little bit ago. Like I want to say like a couple months ago, we covered this on Hero Report, and both of us are on the same page where it's like, I don't care if this movie sucks. I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Yeah, this movie, they did go ahead and drop a brand new trailer here this past week. We have posted it up on our Facebook page if you guys haven't checked it out. It's a pretty good little trailer. I will say I can kind of see the low budgetness of it in the way that it's being filmed. I don't know if that's just the execution of it or not, but I mean, even some of the articles that we've talked about, right? The filmmaker has said we shouldn't go in here expecting a Hollywood feature. You know what I mean? Like we should definitely temper our expectations. And when you look at the trailer, it definitely feels that way, but it's still compelling enough to kind of see like the Christopher Robin character in there taking one of his old girlfriends back to his own stomping grounds to show like this is where me and my animals, like this is where we used to live. And then all of a sudden realizing, oh my god, they've been let loose and they've become rabid beasts. I mean, Yeah, man. I think if you're into like classic gore and horror films, this might be right up your alley if you don't mind the cheesiness of some of the way that the movie is filmed itself. But cool little trailer though, I got to admit.
It almost sounds like the plot to Toy Story 3, where it's like the little bear gets abandoned, and so now he's
Yes.
really pissed off and he becomes
Yes.
evil. It might be
Yes.
that, but with a horror twist.
Yes, that's exactly what this is turning out to be. But yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out on our Facebook page, please do. There's a fantastic trailer there for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So yeah, those are just some of my honorable mentions. Did I go over anything that you had, Stuart?
No, which actually kind of surprised me. My honorable mention is Superman and Lois just announced a new actor coming to
Oh,
season
they
3,
did.
and it's going to be Chad L. Coleman, who I'm sure most of you guys know him from The Walking Dead. I believe, yeah, he played a character who was also in the comic books, Tyrese, although in the comic books he was like a football player, and I don't think that was ever established in the show. But he also was in Arrow for a small time, but I assume he's going to be playing a different character from the one they played in Arrow. But yeah, he's going to be playing the main villain, and a lot of people are theorizing, just because of like how the last season ended, that it's going to be Bruno Mannheim.
Oh, I like it. I like it. I used to love Chad Coleman in The Walking Dead, man. I thought he was so good in that show. When you said that they brought him on, I misheard you at first. I thought you meant they brought him on as part of the cast to recast. Was it Jordan?
Oh my god!
That's why I googled him. I'm like, Chad Coleman. Who's it? Him? What? Okay. I misheard you, Stuart. I'm sorry. Flip me out for a second, man.
She's like, hey Jordan, did you do something new with your hair, your face, and your body?
Is it a new hairstyle you've got, Jordan? Yeah. So, but no, I think it's a great casting choice, man. I do love me some Chad Coleman. It's been a minute since I've seen him in anything, but the time that I absolutely loved his time in Walking Dead was great for me. I was a big fan.
Same.
So that's cool. That's a good honorable mention, man. I'm glad you brought that up. I completely missed that story here this week. I don't even think we have that on our Facebook page yet, so might have to go ahead and post that after this episode is done. But that, guys, is our honorable mentions for today. If you guys have any live viewer questions, feel free to submit your live viewer questions over at any time. Just go over to our YouTube page, click on that community tab, and there is in fact a post for live viewer questions. And we'll certainly try and get to some of your questions towards the end of the episode. We might have more Power Ranger questions, especially after last week. So I may hold off on majority of those questions for our extra episode later on this week. Maybe I'll have a sit-down conversation with Jinsaku and maybe pick his brain a little bit as well. So we might hold off on some of those, but not all the questions. We'll definitely get to some of them for you guys today. I do want to give some quick shout outs to people that are certainly joining us here today before we get into our main topics. Good old Adam Perea certainly in the house. The most talented man alive is certainly here today as well. We got Chris Crossman in the house. Also, good old Francois DuPont joining us. Gabriel's here as well. Happy Labor Day. That's right. It's Labor Day tomorrow. We also got Jackson Peterson here. What's up, Jackson? Jericho Gonzalez is in the house. Good old Carlo Bernardo is here. Michael Rhymes, Kurt Marino, good old Carter Matthews. Abase certainly coming through. We got Dino Knights Fight for Your Rights certainly in here today. Nicole Robertson, certainly good to see you around these parts. Good old Roberto Bueno is here. We got John Schuyler. Good old Jack Daniels, because it's 5 o'clock somewhere for you guys. We got Stuart in the house today, too. Good old Enrique. He says, hey, Adam, Disney Plus is almost here on Thursday before D23 Expo. That's right. That's like next week, isn't that, Stuart? Can you look up D23 Expo dates? Can't wait for the upcoming announcements from Marvel Studios, Star Wars, Pixar, and Disney Animation Studio. I look forward to, man. We might have to start getting ourselves prepped for D23, because I'm pretty sure we're going to have a couple of announcements, at least from Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios. So we might be pretty focused on that next week. Good old Power Rangers Legacy certainly in the house. Datilla certainly joining us as well. Ram Jam is certainly here with us. good old Marcelino Vasquez, certainly making his presence known. Who else we got? Good old Blossom is certainly in the house with us today. So thank you very much, guys. And yes, I do know that some of you guys did submit your questions over to the email. I would recommend that you guys I know sometimes like it gets into Saturday and I may not have posted anything, but patience. I will post it. I will always post it on the community tab. So feel free to go ahead and submit your questions over there. But if you have already submitted it through the the email, I'll go through the email today. But again, guys, patience. Please hold your questions until the post actually goes up. I'm not going to forget about live viewer questions, guys. Trust me. So we should be fine for today. All right. What's up?
Yeah, so for Disney, it's actually going to be next week. It's the 9th through the 11th.
Okay, good. So that does give me some time. I'm glad it wasn't this week because I'm just like, oh shit, I'm about to run around with my head cut off because I have not prepped at all. So it's next week, you said?
Yep.
The 9th. Oh wait, it's this. You said the 9th through what?
The 11th.
Okay, so it's this Friday. It's this upcoming
Oh,
Friday,
shit.
Saturday,
So
and
this
Sunday.
upcoming Friday, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh shit. So yeah, I'm gonna be running around like crazy trying to get myself prepped for this. I'm gonna have to see exactly when the schedule is too for Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios panel. If anything, I have a feeling it's probably gonna be like on a Saturday. So maybe we'll do like a Saturday recap or something like that. I'll see what we can do for you guys, but we'll definitely be covering D23 here. All right, Stuart, and I believe with that out of the way, I think it's time to get into our main topics, sir.
Excellent.
Oh, before we get into the main topics, can I just get your point of view on something, Stuart?
For sure.
Did you check out Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power yet?
I did, yeah. I thought it was intriguing, nothing like mind-blowing or anything, but I am really liking it so far. I just think it's kind of weird having this show and House of Dragons going on at the same time. I feel like either Amazon or HBO Max should have waited till the other one was over before releasing their show. But yeah, no, I'm actually enjoying Rings of Power so far.
Yeah, me too. We will be doing Rings of Power reviews for you guys. This is just a terrible week for me because I do have my mom in town from Atlanta. So we've been hosting her, just spending time with the family and things like that. So while I have watched the first 2 episodes of the Rings of Power, I have not dropped my review yet. So the review might be a little bit late. If not tomorrow, then definitely on Tuesday you can expect it. But after that, going forward, we will certainly be on time with our Rings of Power reviews for you guys. And so for me, Stuart, I have been enjoying it. I don't necessarily feel it's as good as say the House of the Dragons, but I've always seen Middle Earth and Westeros as like 2 completely different things. Like they just have their own different vibes and lore and mythos that I really sort of lean towards. And so I've actually been a big fan of the Rings of Power stuff that we've gotten, and really intrigued to kind of see where this story is going to go. But yeah, I've enjoyed what I've seen so far. But definitely, if you guys have checked out the Rings of Power, let us know your thoughts down below. All right. Jackson Peterson says my boy Adam loves his coffee. He's always drinking something. Maybe next week beer or tequila. Damn, guys, y'all want me to hit that hard stuff. No, me and the girlfriend actually went to Buffalo Wild Wings yesterday. Had me a nice tall glass of Dos Equis. Do you have a beer preference, Stuart? I know you're a beer guy, man.
I'm usually an IPA kind of guy, so my go-to in the Bay Area is this one called Pliny the Elder. It's just kind of like it's perfect because it's got a really great like powerful flavor when you sip it for the first time, but it doesn't have that like kind of annoying aftertaste that a lot of IPAs will kind of give you. It gives you all the flavor and then none of the annoying aftertaste.
I like that because I always get the taste of like stinky socks. It's a weird like funky Frito taste. I don't know when it comes to IPAs sometimes. So yeah, maybe I'll have to try that out sometime.
Yeah, I'm not sure how widely available it is. I know that there's some places that you could go shopping around here where they only allow you to buy 2 bottles of it at a time.
Really? Why is that?
Huh? Oh,
Why
just
is that?
because it's a somewhat local brewery, so they're
Oh,
limited
okay.
on how many they can produce.
Okay.
But if you go to the right places, some of them will actually sell you a case of it. So you
Okay.
just got to know where to go.
Okay, nice. Maybe I'll see if they can ship me out a 6-pack at some point in time, or two. I'll take the two. That's fine. All right, guys, let's go ahead and start getting into today's episode. We got some great topics, and I definitely want to have Stuart on board with me here this week because we're going to start into our Star Wars bag, ladies and gentlemen. Talking about the 5-year anniversary, believe it or not, Stuart, to Star Wars The Last Jedi. Good old Rian Johnson, who has been working on his sequel to the Knives Out film titled Glass Onion, if I'm not mistaken, starring good old Daniel Craig once again. Rian Johnson is certainly back at it. After his departure from Star Wars, he went out and made Knives Out, a fantastic film that people continue to rave about. Went ahead and actually got nominated, I think, for a couple of awards as well. So Rian Johnson continues to certainly do his thing outside of the Star Wars universe. But with it being the 5-year celebration since The Last Jedi, Empire Magazine decided to go ahead and do a sit-down interview with him and really pick his brain in regards to his thoughts on not only The Last Jedi 5 years later, but also the future when it comes to Rian Johnson as part of Lucasfilm and the Star Wars franchise as a whole. And, Stuart, since, this movie, even 5 years later, continues to be a very divisive film, in general, the Disney sequel trilogy rather divisive as well. It is interesting to kind of go ahead and not only pick your brain on this, Stuart, but really hear what Rian Johnson has to say in regards to how he feels the movie's been received, or even how he certainly receives the film after these 5 years. And to put some context into this, Stuart, me and the girlfriend last night, I actually went ahead and watched The Last Jedi. I think I maybe had like an hour and a half left to go. I wanted to put it on extremely late. I think we got through maybe at least 2 hours of it, maybe not a little bit less than that. So didn't get the opportunity to finish it again, but I did want to go ahead and at least refresh myself on the film before we certainly talked about it. So let's go ahead and get into this, because I do want to hear your thoughts in regards to what Rian Johnson has to say. So this is from Empire Magazine. Rian Johnson is even more proud of Star Wars The Last Jedi 5 years on. And I'm pretty sure that the headline itself probably triggered fans all around the world. How can Rian Johnson be even more proud of this shit movie? I'm sure people are certainly saying. So let's go ahead and dive into this, Stuart. If there's a line of dialogue in Star Wars Episode 7, The Last Jedi, that feels particularly apt, it's one spoken by Luke Skywalker. This is not going to go the way that you think. And I remember when he said that line in the movie, I'm like, yeah, this is completely different than what I ever expected to see, Stuart, for sure. Oh, good.
Also, I love how they called it Episode 7, The Last Jedi.
Oh, Episode 8. I'm sorry. I read
No,
it.
no, no, that wasn't. Oh wait, no, never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, it was hard for
I
me to
read
see
it wrong.
like on the screen.
I read
I
it
thought for
wrong.
a minute it was the article.
Fucking the numerals, man. It's always hard to break them down sometimes. So he says this is not going to go the way that you think. Writer director Rian Johnson's middle chapter in the sequel trilogy was a rich, adventurous, mythical tale continuing the stories of Rey, Kylo Ren, Finn, and Poe Dameron that also dug deep into the soul of Luke Skywalker himself decades after the triumphant finale of Return of the Jedi. Along the way, it contained all kinds of surprises, developing the threads of The Force Awakens in fresh and unexpected ways. It was another box office smash, pulling in $1.3 billion worldwide, but it also challenged its audience in ways that some weren't quite prepared for at the time. It says, in a major new Empire interview, Rian Johnson looks back on The Last Jedi for its 5th anniversary, reflecting with a few years' distance on his episode in the Skywalker saga. This is what he says. He says, I'm even more proud of it 5 years on, he says. When I was up at bat, I really swung at the ball. The film, he says, is not just a Star Wars movie, it's a movie about Star Wars and what it means to himself, what it means to fans. I think it's impossible for any of us to approach Star Wars without thinking about it as a myth that we were raised with, and how that myth, that story baked itself into us and affected us. The ultimate intent was not to strip away, the intent was to get to the basic fundamental power of fate, of myth. And ultimately, I hope the film is an affirmation of the power of myth of Star Wars in our lives. That extends to its controversial depiction of Luke Skywalker as a hermit who closed himself off from the Force, having sensed darkness in his nephew Ben Solo and accidentally pushed him further towards the dark side as Kylo Ren. But as much as Luke begins the film in a very different place than when he left him at the end of the original trilogy, his arc over the course of The Last Jedi, ending in his death and the birth of a new Skywalker legend, sees him become a galactic symbol of hope and rebellion once more. This is what Rian says. He says, the final images of the movie to me are not deconstructing the myth of Luke Skywalker, they're building it. And they're having him embrace it. They're him absolutely defying the notion of throw away the past, and and embracing what actually matters about his myth and what's going to inspire the next generation. So for me, the process of stripping away is always in the interest of getting to something essential that really matters. Something essential that really matters. He could be describing the Last Jedi himself. So I thought that was pretty interesting to kind of see him not only talk about how he appreciates the film after 5 years, how he honestly feels like he swung for the fences, really challenged the fans, and really dove into the mythos of Star Wars, if you will, along with backing up his decision on how he handled the Luke Skywalker character. So let me start off with you here, Stuart. Hearing some of this, what are your initial thoughts in response to Rian Johnson?
I mean, the things that he talked about that he's proud of are the things that were to me the best part about The Last Jedi. I know this is also the most divisive thing about The Last Jedi, but personally, I think the way Luke Skywalker was written into the movie was excellent. It's a much different take on him than what I think like some fans of the original expanded universe were expecting. I know a lot of people either wanted to see him go completely turn to the dark side and or have him be like the solo hero that could like literally defeat the empire all by himself. And I think the fact that we didn't get either one of those two, I could see why it upset a lot of fans. But I like that because that's a different take on Luke that we hadn't gotten. And the way it was written in the movie, it very much still felt in line with the Luke Skywalker from the original trilogy. Yes, we know that Luke Skywalker won his battle against the dark side, but that doesn't mean the dark side isn't going to keep trying to creep in there. So him having that moment of making that mistake and then kind of realizing that violence is always going to lead to conflict like this, even if you're fighting for something good, it made total sense that this is what kind of gave him the idea to realize that maybe there, like that line from Ben Kenobi, there are alternatives to fighting, and that's what we kind of get from Luke at the very end of The Last Jedi. It's like we go from him kind of giving up and then his arc being like without fully taking back the idea of fighting without violence. We get to see him utilize essentially his newfound path, but also still be able to be the Luke Skywalker that we knew and loved at the end.
Yeah, and I think for me, I think that's really what really always captured my attention was I really love seeing the arc of Luke Skywalker in this film. And you're right, by the end of the film, after Luke finally understands his purpose and understands his own failings and really what his sort of legendary status or his own myth surrounding him really means, the idea of him going from what we see at the beginning of The Last Jedi towards the very end, where he still ends up becoming that symbol of hope, right? He still manages to leave that lasting legacy, another myth to go along with the story of Luke Skywalker from generations. Because I'm sure kids would be like, hey, do you remember the tale of Luke Skywalker on Crate when he held off the entire First Order so the last of the rebellion could survive, right? Like, all of that is an incredibly epic story to add to Luke Skywalker. So I totally understand Rian Johnson when he says, "Look, I'm not stripping away anything. I'm building up
Mhm.
towards the myth that is Star Wars and Luke Skywalker." And I think, look, the one thing that I will always say when it comes to The Last Jedi is, I have always felt terrible for like JJ Abrams, for Rian Johnson, for having to pick up the mantle of these original characters and write them again after such a long time. And I only say that because these characters are beloved by so many people in the world, right? Like, I think if you grew up on Star Wars, you already in your head have like those 30 years of Luke Skywalker's life already planned out. And so when you've got somebody that comes into the franchise to really challenge you, that is a really hard pill for people to swallow, that you're giving them something that they didn't think was even possible when it comes to the Luke Skywalker character. But I think that's what always made The Last Jedi so intriguing to me. And one of the films out of the Disney sequel trilogy that I can go back to and enjoy. Is it a perfect film? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've seen better work from Rian Johnson, but in the aspects of Kylo Ren, Rey, the Force, the dark side, the Luke Skywalker character, all of that stuff, I thought he did a fantastic job breaking down. I'm a little bit bummed in characters and how they were used, such as Poe. I mean, not even Poe. Going back and rewatching it yesterday, I didn't mind the Poe storyline of him being sort of the fly off the handle pilot, the hot shot pilot sort of thing, the pushback that he gives. I kind of enjoyed that storyline for him. It's really the Rose and Finn stuff that kind of fell by the wayside for me. But in regards of really diving into the lore of the Jedi and the Sith and seeing what Rian Johnson can create. The idea of having to dabble into characters that people love, I think, is almost like a lose-lose situation, if you will. And I kind of felt like that's where he found himself in. Because I do think that if he were to go on to create other Star Wars content, I think the idea of giving him literally a blank slate to go ahead and create, like, just in this universe, sticking in the universe, but new characters, new adventures. I do think that we would probably see the best yet to come when it comes to Rian Johnson in the world of Star Wars. But I loved what he did with this movie, man. I really did, especially when it comes to the Luke Skywalker stuff, for sure.
Yeah. I definitely would agree with you with the Finn stuff and even the Poe stuff to an extent. And it wasn't, and I couldn't for the longest time figure it out, like the exact reason I didn't like the way those two plots were written as much. And I think what it comes down to is the main difference between Rey and Luke's storyline and everyone else's is that between Rey and Luke there was a middle ground, like they both have to learn from each other.
Right.
But it kind of feels like with the other three storylines that doesn't happen. It's simply Finn learning from Rose not learning anything, and then same with Poe learning from Hodo, and Hodo not really learning anything. I mean, yeah, she does kind of like something that's different from everything we've seen her doing before at the very end, but there's nothing really in her character to suggest that she learned anything before doing that, to suggest she wouldn't have done that exact action before. So I think had there been a middle ground for both those characters, I think I would have appreciated it a little bit more, because that's usually how you want, like, storylines between two characters to always go. You want there to be a middle ground. You want them both to grow, not just one. You don't want it to be one-sided,
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I do think that's one of the reasons why the Rey and Luke stuff really kind of stood out to me. And I think even looking back after it for 5 years, one of the things I've always said, Stuart, is, time heals all wounds. I think we've heard that saying before. You know, we look back at the Phantom Menace 20 years later and people can kind of forgive. I mean, it's still maybe not the best film in the world, right? But there are aspects of the film that I think we appreciate, especially when it comes to the trilogy. And I do think that in maybe another 15 years, I think people will probably come around a little bit more to the Last Jedi and appreciate it for what it is, because I appreciate it even more after seeing things like Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, right? Just 5 years separated from Return of the Jedi, and the height, I don't want to say even the height of his power, but him being that Jedi that I think fans, we've always assumed or saw in our head. And then also, I think we talked about this a little bit too when we watched the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, him being a hermit, him shutting himself off from the Force, right? Like it's no longer unprecedented that like Luke Skywalker decides to take this path, because we've seen his own former master in his own way kind of go into hiding and cut himself off from the Force and deal with his own failures and his own struggles in his own way. And I think the stuff like that shines light on accepting or coming to appreciate where Luke Skywalker is in his life 30 years later.
Mm-hmm. That, and I think another thing someone brought up about Luke Skywalker that I can kind of see their point with is that before The Last Jedi, unless you count like the video game, we never really got to see just one like film where we got to really enjoy Luke Skywalker right. in his prime. You know, we got it kind of in The Last Jedi, but that was at the very end, so we never had like just a full on movie with him in his prime. And I think one thing that really helps is we finally got that with The Mandalorian. We finally got to see you know, what it looks like when Luke is in his prime and he's not like, you know, he hasn't resorted to cutting himself off of the Force yet. So I think now that we've gotten that, I think people can have a new appreciation for The Last Jedi now that they've gotten what they wanted to see for so long.
I agree, and I do think that is what will hopefully help The Last Jedi in the long run, as we sort of start filling in the gaps of that 30 years, and maybe in different ways get to see Luke Skywalker really highlighted at the height of his power to go ahead and help elevate the Luke Skywalker character when we do get to see him in The Last Jedi. And I do think that that's definitely was maybe one of the major turnoffs for people when they got into this movie. I think there's a part of us that almost forget that there is 30 years in between the last time that we saw this guy. And I don't know if you know anybody that was the same from when they were 10 to 40. I don't know if you know anybody that's the same from when they were 30 to 60, right? People's lives and events change them as people, and sometimes they're no longer the same person that they were. And I kind of appreciated Luke Skywalker kind of having that looking inwards at himself, seeing his impact not only on the galaxy, but if he got caught up in his own hubris, very much like the Jedi of old certainly did, to where it certainly blinded them from things that they should have been keeping their eyes on. Like I think it probably just kicked people in the face that they just did not get Luke Skywalker at his height the way that they certainly wanted to see it. And I think it was just a really hard concept for them to maybe wrap their heads around, in a sense that this is just another way of Luke being sort of dismantled, but then being literally brought back up to that hero status that we saw. Because, you know, in the final act, Stuart, honestly, I got so incredibly hyped to kind of see Luke Skywalker go out there, right? Like, I think it's what we envisioned Luke to always be. And some people will be like, oh, but he really wasn't there. It doesn't matter if he wasn't there. It's the impact of him just representing himself there, right? The idea of seeing him in front of the entire First Order, like he said in the movie. What, you think I'm just gonna go out there with my laser sword and stand in front of the First Order? Yeah, he does that at the very end of the movie, and in all epicness. And for me, I think what won me over was, while I saw the new hairdo, I was like, oh, Mark Hamill's looking great as Luke Skywalker. There was a part of me that didn't even consider the fact that he wasn't really there. I just thought, oh, he just got himself cleaned up to go to battle. Like, this is pretty badass. So the entire time I'm watching it, I'm thinking to myself, holy shit. Because I know whether or not Luke Skywalker is there or not, Stuart, the same thing's happening, bro. The same thing is happening, same result. And I love Luke Skywalker's arc in here. And if anything, I don't think it hurt the storyline whatsoever. I think if anything, it just helped elevate it. And when we look back on it, I'm hoping people will certainly see it there. And I am kind of tired of people giving Rian Johnson crap when J.J. Abrams, and we've said this before, Stuart, when we go into the Rise of Skywalker, there is no excuse for the Rise of Skywalker to do any sort of retconning or having to go in a completely different direction. Because at the end of the day, if you are an intelligent writer, a competent writer, you can take the events of what happened in episodes 7 and 8 and create a satisfying conclusion in 9 if you wanted to certainly go ahead and wrap it up. And I just think it's unfortunate that they listened to a loud minority, panicked, and changed things around. And I think history has shown that they really had no plan. But I just think it was just a really disservice to how things had been handled over there. But I can't blame Rian Johnson for it. For me personally, I just can't.
Yeah, and here's the thing about why I think like Disney's made a huge mistake about Rise of Skywalker. I think they reacted too fast, because when you think about it with The Last Jedi, the big hatred, and I mean like the loud hatred, it kind of died off after like a few months. It wasn't like there. You still had like people talking crap about The Last Jedi, but it wasn't like, the review bombing died out. The
Right.
the constant harassment that like some of the actors were getting, it was still there, but nowhere near as consistent as it was. And the ones that were consistent were mostly, bots. So rather than just waiting for that, to die off, it felt like Disney reacted way too fast. It was like, okay, we need to do a complete 180. And, we'll say that we're in on the joke too in episode 9. That'll calm the fans down, right? It's like, no. And then something I wanted to bring up from the comments, is like the fans that kind of feel like The Last Jedi was kind of a big 180 from The Force Awakens. And you can look at interviews with J.J. Abrams to confirm this. It's because he didn't really have a plan for anything past The Force Awakens. And that's just how J.J. Abrams writes. And, I think it works for television. I think it's a really bad idea to bring that style to movies, because then you end up with a very inconsistent, incoherent trilogy. But basically, yeah, he likes to come up with mysteries that other people will solve. That's how it, worked really well for a lot of people on Lost. And it's what, helped keep the show going for like 8 seasons, right?
Something like 6 or 7. I think it was like 7. I think it was 7. Maybe 7 or 8. Yeah, you might be right.
But regardless, that type of writing worked with Lost. It doesn't work with Star Wars. Star Wars isn't really something that can be fully ad-libbed. And I'm not trying to say they should have had like all 3 scripts ready to go before they even started shooting, but they definitely should have had a little basic outline of where they wanted the story to go, rather than just like creating mysteries, letting someone else answer those questions, and then create other mysteries for someone else to solve. I don't think that's a good idea unless everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a part of me that felt like maybe there was, because I think even the Colin Trevorrow stuff of the script that wind up leaking for what he was going to create, I thought that there were connective tissues between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. But it's been a while since I revisited what Colin Trevorrow wind up doing. But maybe I'll have to go ahead and check that out again. But if anything, I do think I appreciated Rian Johnson truly challenging us as viewers, not necessarily just hand feeding us everything that we immediately kind of wanted to see. And I think I do agree with him when he says that he swung for the fences. I got to agree. And I think Lucasfilm truly appreciates it enough, Stuart, to where they're still planning on trying to have Rian Johnson back, believe it or not. I know he's talked about it before, and it's been kind of quiet as of lately, but apparently Rian Johnson still wants to do his Star Wars trilogy. He says it would break my heart if I were finished playing in that realm. He says I've stayed close to Kathleen Kennedy, and we get together often and talk about it, as what he tells Empire. He says it's just at this point a matter of schedule and when it can happen. it would break my heart if I were finished, if I couldn't get back in that sandbox at some point. Says for now, he's working hard on cooking up 2 Knives Out sequels for Netflix, the first of which is Glass Onion, and he has another one certainly still set to come. So, and even Kathleen Kennedy has mentioned in the past, Stuart, that they still have plans, though everybody is very much certainly busy. What do you think about him tackling a Star Wars trilogy? Do you think it's still maybe too soon? I mean, granted, we don't have a release date yet, so I personally am not expecting him to really start dabbling in the Star Wars again, like pre-production for like at least another 5 years or so. Do you think by then some of the drama and divisiveness will have squashed or settled down a little bit to where people might accept him back with open arms in the franchise? Or is this a trilogy of films you rather not see?
It's a trilogy of films I'm open to seeing. I first because it seems like every time a Star Wars movie is getting announced, it always gets like canned or something like that. So even though I'm open to seeing a trilogy from Rian Johnson, I'm definitely not going to be holding my breath or anything like that. And I also kind of hope that they don't plan ahead for this to be a trilogy in the sense of, you write the first movie and you end it on all these cliffhangers and all these open endings to where it's like you need to keep it going. I think what they should do is give them a movie that can work as the beginning of a trilogy, but also work as a standalone movie. Very much like A New Hope in a way. Just to prepare for the worst, because I think that like Disney's been having a lot of issues when it comes to pulling the trigger on Star Wars movies now, because they're really focused on the television side of things.
Yeah, no, I definitely would agree with you. I definitely appreciate them not announcing anything as of yet. And please don't announce anything until he really has like a whole scope
Yeah.
of what it is that he wants to create. But I would be completely open for Rian Johnson to certainly come back and do another film. Yeah, looking at the Last Jedi Rotten Tomatoes scores, I'm showing a 91% fresh when it comes to critics, but out of 100,000 plus, 42% audience score. I do wonder if that is some review bombed before that Rotten Tomatoes wind up changing the way that they did things. I actually want to see the Last Jedi cinema score. I am kind of cinema score. I want to see what the fans felt about it back in 2017. It said they gave it an A. Fans coming out of the theaters wind up giving The Last Jedi an A. So, I am kind of curious how divisive it is. If it truly is just loud minorities or of fans, or if people that did go and see The Last Jedi actually walked away enjoying it more than others certainly did. That I certainly don't know. I would be kind of curious to learn a little bit more about that. But I'd be open. I'd be open to it again, because I do think there is something about handling original Star Wars characters that people have loved over years and trying to create a story for them that may not line up with people's vision. But I do think if you give Rian Johnson just a clean slate, I think he can create whatever he wants to and make a really great film. Because I feel like Stuart, he's already done that in so many other aspects and other areas of his films, whether that be from Brec, whether that be from Looper, whether it be the first Knives Out movie, him being nominated, I think, for Best Director, or at least his movie being nominated for Best Picture. I think a lot of that just speaks volumes as to the type of creator and writer and director that Rian Johnson certainly is. So I do think that there is a place for him in the Star Wars franchise. Just maybe with his own characters and own storyline might be the best way to go. What do you think, though?
Yeah, I'd fully agree. I'd say that, his even before he did Star Wars, he is, made a bunch of really awesome movies like Looper. I haven't seen Brick though, so I can't say anything about that. But I can definitely say that, if he were to have his own original characters to work with, I would be really excited to see what he would do with that, with his own original characters, but in the Star Wars universe.
So yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. What do you think about Ryan Johnson and some of the words that he said after revisiting The Last Jedi after 5 years? The question I have for you guys is: have you revisited The Last Jedi? When was the last time you sat down and actually watched the movie? I would challenge you all to certainly go ahead and check it out and see if you've got a different opinion than what you had when you first saw the film. I really enjoyed watching it yesterday, Stuart, and I would like to end off on this note. The burning tree scene at the when Ray leaves. Ray and Luke just had that battle on Octu, when he walks in on Ray and Kylo, touching each other's hands, despite them being like galaxies apart or whatever the case may be, and she runs off because she feels that she can save Kylo. And I love that the scene of Luke going to go ahead and burn down the tree, but then he has second thoughts, and we've got Yoda that comes in, hits the lightning and things like that. I love that scene between the two of them, because one of the things that I think is so relevant to that film that I think people miss is the idea that Yoda lets him know, yes, there are teachings of the Jedi that we're supposed to pass forward, right? But it's not all the good side and the perfect side of what the Jedi have done or what the Force does, right? Like, it's okay to also pass on your failures and use your failures as sort of teaching moments so that the people that you're training don't make the same mistakes. And so in other words, you have to acknowledge your failures, instead of just hiding them and pushing them away. And I also love the line when he says they grow beyond what we are. And I think those two things just really speak volumes to me, especially in today's society where I feel like people are so afraid of failure that, especially when it comes to social media, we hide ourselves behind sort of this perfect image. People aren't held accountable in our society anymore. People don't want to admit when they fail or when they lose. And I think that's a huge detriment to us as a society and just as people. And I do think that there is something important in recognizing your failures and using that failure of ours to become something better. And the fact that Luke Skywalker, even after 30 years, still has lessons to learn, I think is a great understanding that we're not perfect and we shouldn't expect our heroes to be perfect. And it's okay to fall down and mess up and find ourselves in a completely different path in life than what we thought should have been our path or what other people certainly think should have been our path. And I think that's exactly what Ryan Johnson is certainly getting at, to be able to break Luke Skywalker down the way that he is, but show that in his failures, he becomes something greater than that. And I think it's okay. It's okay to see us fail and our heroes. And I think I think if people understand a little bit more, maybe it's a little bit easier of a pill to swallow by watching The Last Jedi again. Would you agree, or how did you take that scene?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything you said there was amazing, and I fully agree because, yeah, failure is the greatest teacher. And I think that was one of my
Absolutely.
favorite lines from Yoda in that movie, or, one of my favorite lines in the movie altogether. And then, yeah, the fact that, the younger generation, their burden is that they have to grow beyond, the teachers and things like that. Yeah, and I think it works well when talking about Star Wars, and it, of course, is extremely relevant when talking about the real world.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think as a Star Wars fan, I think that's the only thing I could certainly ask for is to somehow still make Star Wars relevant to the world that I live in, but also adding into that mythology of some of my favorite characters that I absolutely love. So, yeah, 5 years later, I'm still a fan of The Last Jedi. So, I would definitely want to know your guys' thoughts. Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. But yes, I challenge you, please check out The Last Jedi once again on its 5th anniversary. All right, Stuart. And with that out of the way, we will move on to our next topic as we're going to get into the world of movies. As Stuart, I didn't even realize this movie was happening, but this past week, Eddie Murphy is back in the news as we not only got casting announcement, but surprisingly set photos of a film that's already in development, the new Beverly Hills Cop. I think this is like the fourth installment, if I'm not mistaken. I was a big fan of the very first two. The third one, maybe not so much, but I am fascinated the idea that we are tackling this particular franchise again because in today's day and age, guys, franchises just never die. They just keep managing to come back, and Beverly Hills Cop is certainly one of them. And I feel like this is Eddie Murphy getting back into his bag, right? We saw him do the Coming to America movie a few years back. Now he's tackling another one of his big franchises. But this is a Beverly Hills Cop sequel winds up adding Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which I'm a big fan of, along with good old Taylor Page. Says the Netflix pick starring Eddie Murphy gets a new title. It says exclusive, the long-awaited sequel to the classic comedy franchise is a go, as sources tell Deadline that Taylor Page and Joseph Gordon-Levitt have joined series star Eddie Murphy in a Netflix newly titled Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley. Production on this sequel is underway. Says Murphy is back as Axel Foley and will produce along with Jerry Bruckheimer and Chad Oman of Jerry Bruckheimer Films. It says the franchise moved from Paramount to Netflix in the winter of 2019 and follows the adventures of Detroit cop Foley, who first appeared in the 1984 smash hit that followed him to Beverly Hills to solve the murder of a friend. The film became one of the year's biggest hits and solidified Murphy's movie star status. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be getting those. Those are the two new casting announcements. And Stuart, we also wind up managing to get ourselves some brand new set photos here as we get the opportunity to see good old Eddie Murphy himself donning the classic Detroit Lions jacket that he so infamously wears around. I'm assuming he hurt himself either as part of the storyline here. Looks like he's got a cast on or some sort of brace on him. But we do see him on set.
That's my question. Did he actually hurt himself, or is it his character that hurt himself? Or did
Yeah.
he hurt himself and they had to write it into the story?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know how they what the deal is there, but it's underway. I didn't even know that this film was actually in front of the cameras already, but it's getting ready for us guys to go ahead and drop over on Netflix. What's your history like with Beverly Hills Cop? I remember watching it as a kid from time to time. I probably have only seen them like 2 or 3 times in my life, but it's been years since I've revisited this franchise. Do you have any memories of it or your thoughts?
I have no idea how, but I've never seen any of the Beverly Hills cop movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
Stuart.
But
Stuart.
I will probably add it to my list because yeah, I like to revisit classics that I've never seen every now and then. So this will definitely be one that I got to visit before the sequel comes out.
Mm,
I think the most surprising thing about this though is just finding out that Eddie Murphy is still acting because like I mean, I know he was in Coming to America, the sequel, but like before that, like the last movie I remember seeing him in, I had to look it up on IMDb when it came out. That was Tower Heist, and that came out in 2011.
oh, wow.
So it's definitely been a minute since I've seen him in a film. So I'm like kind of excited just on that note alone. So yeah, before it comes out, I'll definitely be rewatching the other Beverly Hills Cop movies.
Yeah, man, I would definitely recommend it. It's got a great soundtrack, at least the first two. I would recommend at least the first two films for sure. Some amazing cast members, incredible humor by Eddie Murphy. It was pretty cool back in the 80s seeing him sort of like as that action star. I wouldn't necessarily put him right next to like Bruce Willis in regards to like the Die Hard action sort of films. This definitely had its own tone and flair to it, but it was always pretty cool seeing Eddie Murphy as a police officer. I was always a big fan of his humor in that too. But yeah, guys, definitely go ahead and certainly let us know your thoughts. I'm trying to see if there is a release date anywhere on here. I'm not seeing one as of right now. But as we get closer, guys, we'll definitely keep you posted as to when we can expect the new Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley movie. And I actually really enjoyed him in the. Did you see him in the Coming to America sequel?
No.
While the movie itself, I enjoyed the movie. I don't think it was anywhere near the first one, but it definitely had its own unique flair to it. I can see why Eddie Murphy, after so many years, would come back to do the film. And that's one of the things about the Beverly Hills Cop I am questioning too, Stuart, is I wonder how good the script is to have gotten Eddie Murphy to certainly come back to do this anyway. I am a little bit eerie when it comes to Netflix movies. I feel like they do series better than they do films. So I am kind of on the edge as to how good is this movie really going to be? Like, is this just a money grab for Eddie Murphy, or is he really going to put the effort into trying to bring back Axel Foley? Is the two questions that I have.
Well, given that like he doesn't really act as much as he used to, I assume if he's coming back, it's got to be that he's coming back for like a good
For
reason.
good reason.
So yeah, at least I hope, anyways.
Yeah, I hope so too. But we'll definitely keep you guys posted. But let us know your thoughts. Did you know Beverly Hills Cop was actually going to be dropping a brand new movie? And the fact that it's already in front of cameras, let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comments section box below. And what do you think about some of the set photos? Are you pretty hyped to see Eddie Murphy reprise his role as Axel Foley? Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or comment section box below. And with that, Stuart, we will go ahead and make a transition back into our Marvel and DC talk. We will start off with some Marvel topics here. We got two Marvel topics that I want to go ahead and bring forward for you because Jonathan Majors is currently in the news as they are ramping up their Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania. I was about to say Quantum Continuum, but not this time. You didn't get me, David Yost. Quantum Mania, ladies and gentlemen. I've been hyped for this, Stuart, despite really not being the biggest fan of Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's a snore fest to me personally. I am really eager to kind of see what the third installment to this trilogy is certainly going to bring. They had me at Jonathan Majors, and I thought it'd be interesting to go ahead and dive into this article here. We've got a couple of quotes, not only from people working on Ant-Man, giving their thoughts on just Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror, but a pretty interesting quote from Jonathan Majors that I really want to pick your brain on, Stuart, and see what you think he means by this. So let's go ahead and dive into this article here. This comes to us from good old comicbook.com. Ant-Man and the Wasp star Jonathan Majors says Kang's scary popularity might kill him, is what he says. It says Jonathan Majors' life is going swimmingly. After a breakout role in Lovecraft Country, the actor has found himself as one of the most in-demand stars of Hollywood. Soon he'll even be set up as the MCU's next big bad. After a brief appearance in Loki, Majors will appear as Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Everything's looking up for the actor, so much so he's worried he'll die soon, Stuart. Let's dive into this. He says, if life keeps popping off the way it is, I'm going to die soon. I'm okay with that, Major says in a recent chat with New York Times via the Direct. It won't be drugs. It won't be alcohol. It'll just be something's going to get me. Know what I mean? And yet in the same chat, Ant-Man Helmer Peyton Reed compared the rising star to a young Marlon Brando. He says it's become cliche over the decades to compare somebody to a young Marlon Brando, but Jonathan Majors has that. He has just this energy and this presence, and our movie is definitely benefiting from that. And I'll stop right there real quick because I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is Peyton Reed. I'm sure that this movie is heavily benefiting from Jonathan Majors' role because if I could be frank, Stuart, as much as I am a big fan of the Loki series, the season finale is everything in that series for me personally. I've never been so captivated in like 20 minutes of television time in my life. Like it's been such a long time to have somebody like Jonathan Majors' ability to just have such a gripping monologue that I'm literally just sitting at the television like, this dude can talk forever and I'll just pay attention to anything he has to say. Like he's just so incredibly compelling. So when I just literally talked about my displeasure in Ant-Man 2 and you're injecting it with some Jonathan Majors, hell yeah, this movie is benefiting from Jonathan Majors as a part of this. But I do want to pick your brain here, Stuart, in regards to the idea of what he says. The idea that, and they say it's his popularity that might kill him, is how they break it down. But I wonder if there's more to it than what he's saying. And I'll even go over to, because it looks like they got this not only from the New York Times, um, but again, it was written over at the Direct. And they said, when asked how he feels about potentially portraying the same Marvel character in 10 years' time, the actor noted that if his life keeps going the way that it's been, he's going to die soon, alluding to his popularity as being the reason why. And he says, if life keeps popping off the way it is, I'm going to die soon. I'm okay with that. It won't be drugs. It won't be alcohol. It'll just, something's going to get me. Know what I mean? What do you think he means by that?
I think it's just talking about the statistics of luck, the idea that when so many things go good for you all at once, there's always just going to be one big wave that hits you and then, takes it all away. And I think for him, he's like, there's nothing that can logically take away what I have right now. The only way it could possibly actually take it away from me is if I were to get killed. That's what I think he means. I don't think he is genuinely serious about thinking he's going to die. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's just a joke about how, luck tends to work sometimes, how it eventually runs out. And then, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you might be right in regards to that. I get this sense of, I don't know. I feel like Jonathan Majors very much is very introspective as a person. Like I can literally see him having these extremely deep thoughts about his own life in general. But you're right. I mean, the idea of his popularity, like nothing can really take that away from him except for death, But I kind of also look at like Will Smith as an example, right? You've had great luck, so much great fame. Oh, did you hear that?
Did I hear what?
I got like a weird hold on. Sorry, I got some feedback from my other page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a weird introspective moment, I feel like, from Jonathan Majors. Like I guess I never would have expected to hear him say something like that. But I feel like I don't know, man. I just think of like big popular black stars, seeing what fame has kind of given them, and yet at the same time, something tragic or something bad happening to kind of take that away from them too. Like the Will Smith situation, Chadwick Boseman passing. It is one of those things. Like when I think of black stars that are at the top, um, either people being taken away from us way too early or in their prime sort of thing, or like you said, you've had such great luck. Isn't that what like Denzel Washington said to Will Smith that day? Like you've got the world in the palm of your hand, but something's going to come for you, right? Like the devil's the devil's creeping up somewhere to kind of take it all away from you. I feel like it's a really introspective moment for Jonathan Majors to understand like how good he has it in his life, and that at any moment it can kind of be taken away from him. I just wasn't expecting to hear him say that, especially like I don't even know if it's on a press tour or not. You know what I mean? But it's a little morbid, but at the same time, I can understand what he means though.
Yeah, I mean, I can get what he's saying though, like the idea that at least he's lived. So if he does
Right.
have it all taken away from him, let's say I don't see this happening because he seems like a really good dude, but let's say the most common way he could lose it all is he gets canceled, right? At least he can say that he had a really good run before that happened, Again, I definitely don't see that happening, but who knows? The internet's weird sometimes.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But yeah, and they also go on to say here, Stuart, Kevin Feige even mentioned, he says it comes down to the cast, and with Jonathan Majors, who I think took over the Hall H stage, in the 3 minutes he was up there, Feige told us it's amazing. And I said to him, there's nobody's shoulders I'd rather be putting the multiverse saga on than his. It's really impressive what Jonathan Majors able to do in all the different incarnations, variants, if you will, of Kang that we will see him in or see him do, it's really pretty cool. And he says, what I love is that he's totally different from Thanos, that he is completely different, that it's not just how about there's a bigger purple guy with a helmet. That's not what Kang is. Kang is a very different type of villain. And the fact that he has many, many different characters, it's what's most exciting and what most differentiates him, is what Kevin Feige wind up saying. What do you think about what Peyton Reed had to say about his Marlon Brando comparison and the idea of Jonathan Majors carrying the multiverse saga on his back?
I think the biggest thing is that if I were in his shoes, I would be like, guys, how about let's not say all this during the interviews. Let's not put all this pressure on me. Come on. But yeah, I'm excited because like I've seen him in a few roles, but I haven't seen I don't know if I've seen like his full potential yet. So the idea that we're getting like not only producers, but then other actors that have worked with him, and they seem to really be hyping up like his overall performance in all these big roles that we're about to see him in. It just gets me excited, of course.
I think that's crazy that you mentioned that, but it's so true. The fact that I don't even know if this is his peak yet. I don't even know if this is the best of what Jonathan Majors has in store for us. I don't even know how old he is. I feel like I was just introduced to him in Lovecraft Country, which wasn't that long ago. So like, I feel like, man, this guy is like just starting his career, but he might have been doing a ton of things prior to that. But you're right. There, it is something pretty crazy to see that there's so much more potential in this kid than he hasn't even become like a seasoned vet in this game yet. And he's already crushing it in anything that he touches. So I definitely expect some Oscar nominations in his future, and some wins for sure at some particular point in time. I think he's just that incredibly talented. But you're right. I think the idea of seeing other people around you recognizing your talent, and boasting about you in that sort of way definitely adds a lot of pressure and maybe even hype for fans. But I do think if there's anybody that can meet that challenge and even exceed what we have, what we have in store for him, is definitely Jonathan Majors. So I'm really eager to kind of see this movie, and I do think he alone, I think, is going to make this movie for me personally. But I'm really eager for it, guys. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. Let's see here. We got any? I thought we had some comments here. Oh, good old Indy Uchiha certainly in here. He says, "Acknowledge me." What's up, Indy? Good to see you, man. He says, Jonathan Majors is my answer if I was gay. I love it.
That's how I felt after watching Triple R.
Man,
I can't praise that movie enough. Like, super unrelated, but if you guys ever have a chance to watch the movie Triple R, it's on Netflix, and it's going to be the fastest 3 hours of your life. I swear to God.
Yeah, I definitely have to check it out after you boasting about Triple R. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts about Jonathan Major being in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and just some of the quotes that were certainly given by others in regards to him. Definitely let us know your thoughts. And last but not least, when it comes to the world of Marvel, we will get into some Marvel news here real quick. Also, this is in regards to the upcoming Wonder Man series that I think is going to be executive produced by Destin Daniel Cretton, the creator or the writer and director of Shang-Chi. And he's also going to be tackling the upcoming Avengers film, The Kang Dynasty. But in between that, there is another show that he's working on, Wonder Man, that's coming to Disney Plus. And this week, Stuart, we got a casting announcement for the upcoming Wonder Man series, where one of our favorite MCU characters that has been blessed to us ever since Iron Man 3, good old Trevor Slattery, is back as Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley is in fact going to be reprising his role as Trevor Slattery. This is, you know what, Stuart? Honestly, I think maybe after Iron Man 3, I thought that this was going to be like a one-off role for Ben Kingsley. He would never be back. And then Homeboy popped up in like a brief 5 or 10 minute like special of him being broken out of prison by the 10 rings. And lo and behold, we find him pop up in the Shang-Chi movie once again. And I thought that was going to be the last time that I see this guy. But Disney and Marvel definitely have bigger plans here. As Ben Kingsley, who is just an incredible actor in his own right, a legend, a Hall of Famer. He is set to reprise his Trevor Slattery role in Marvel Studios' Wonder Man series. The article does go on to say, it says that the show was first revealed to be in the works back in June. It will focus on the Marvel character Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man. In the comics, Williams is the son of a wealthy industrialist whose company falls on hard times due to competition from Tony Stark's Stark Industries. Williams then accepts an offer from villain Baron Zemo that gives him ionic superpowers, including super strength and durability. After fighting the Avengers several times, Wonder Man ultimately joined their ranks. It says Kingsley returning as Slattery lends credence to the reports that the show is intended to be a Hollywood satire, as it has been established that Slattery is a failed actor, and Wonder Man has been an actor and a stuntman in the comics. Exactly how Kingsley would factor into the plot of the series and how many episodes he would appear in is being kept under wraps, but sources say he will play a major role. So I find that interesting. He's going to be playing a major role in here, Stuart. I guess the idea of going the Hollywood satire route is probably certainly the best route for them to definitely go. I love Trevor Slattery when he's like, whether he's saying his lines or going over poems or just being this flamboyant showman that he certainly is. I kind of want to see how he lives in this world of Hollywood, and I do wonder if there are bigger connective tissues to the Wonder Man character, to maybe even the Shang-Chi world. Like how Trevor gets from where he's at in Shang-Chi into Hollywood. I do wonder if maybe the 10 rings have kind of helped pull some of the strings, especially with, I think it's Shang-Chi's sister that I think might be in charge of that organization as of right now. So I am kind of curious as to how he makes his way over there and really the impact that he's definitely going to have. But this at least shows me not only am I going to get a stellar performance from Ben Kingsley, but also some humor elements added in here, which I'm definitely a big fan of. And especially when it comes to the Wonder Man character not taking itself too seriously. I love the route of a Hollywood satire. This just makes all the sense in the world to me. So I'm actually a really big fan of this casting choice here. But hopefully, as the series progresses, we'll get a little bit more explained as to the bigger role that he's certainly playing. But you hear this news, Stuart. Are you excited to see Ben Kingsley back as Trevor Slattery? And how do you think he fits into the Wonder Man series?
Yeah, I'm excited to see him back. I really loved him in Shang-Chi, so I think he added like the perfect amount of humor to that film. So yeah, I'd definitely be curious to see how he fits into Wonder Man. I think, just him being an actor, I feel like there's a million ways you could definitely write him into it. My biggest question though is going to be like, the last time we saw him, he was in prison and he was broken out of prison. So, my question is, how are they not going to, or my question is, how is he going to be like a character in a place like Hollywood and no one's going to be like, hey, isn't that the actor that was working for the terrorist group? Shouldn't we like arrest him?
I wonder if he takes like yet another personality. Like I wonder if he just pretends to be somebody else yet again. I have no idea how he's going to pull this off. And I even wonder if his like magical creature that he wind up having from Shang-Chi, if that's even going to pop up in here in this series at all or not. But I'm a big fan of Ben Kingsley. I can't wait to see him in this.
It's like I want that creature to be in the show,
But
but
not
I'm afraid of what it's going to look like on the
on
TV
Disney Plus.
schedule. Yeah, because it looked good on Shang-Chi because it was a movie, but we're kind of seeing now with a lot of recent Marvel TV shows, with She-Hulk, even like that the CG is really starting to go downhill, and I think it's just because Marvel can throw in as much money as they want, but it's really hard to make good CG when you're making like a several episode series and trying to know like how to utilize it without like overworking your artists and everything like that. So that'd be like the one question I have, is how they're going to fit the creature into it.
And it does make me wonder if that's the case too. Is like that's the result that we're seeing, is the VFX team maybe overworked, being spread really thin, or maybe they are just smaller budgets clearly for the television side of things. Like I think I'm kind of over the whole, hey, these are just extended movies turned into TV. No, these are television shows. Like these are not movies. And I know sometimes certain things might be presented that way. But I think I'm over the, hey, we turned a movie into a 6-hour movie, but just for TV. No, I rather you make a movie or make a television show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'd say it depends on the Marvel show, because I think Falcon and Winter Soldier could have been a movie. I think it worked as a TV show, but it definitely could have been
Could have
one.
been a movie.
She-Hulk definitely would not have worked as a movie, like especially with the type of
No,
stories that they're telling. It's like,
no,
no, this
no.
works because it's episodic and it's like a new like case every week. And I think like that you wouldn't have had that charm if they tried to make it into a movie.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. After seeing Shang-Chi and the returning Ben Kingsley as Trevor Slattery, he's coming back once again to be in the upcoming Wonder Man series. We barely know anything about this particular series as of yet, but we'll definitely keep you in tune once we get more information. But how do you feel about the return of Ben Kingsley? Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And Stuart, we got two last topics for you guys today as we dive into the world of DC. And this week, guys, this is going to be an interesting one to certainly go ahead and talk about because, yes, Warner Brothers Discovery is back in the news again. I don't think it's ever going to be out of the news, but I did find this update here pretty intriguing. This past week, I believe it was on Variety, they wind up having an article called From Batgirl Fallout to Rebooting Superman, all the landmines facing the next DC chief. And I feel like, Stuart, over the past couple of weeks, we've already highlighted some of these. And in turn, so dealing with the fallout from the Batgirl cancellation, right? The article does mention the idea of, now you got to sort of win the graces of the talent again so that the talent trusts you, right? After canceling Batgirl, you've probably left a really bad taste in the mouth of those creatives, whether they be directors, writers, or even actors. And we've seen Warner Brothers Discovery go out of their way already to try and make amends with Leslie Grace, whether that be trying to find a role for her to play as Batgirl in another upcoming movie at some particular point in time. They've come out very publicly and stated, hey, this is nothing to do with the talent of our directors or actors. We want to go ahead and continue to work with them. So I do think when it comes to dealing with the fallout of Batgirl, I think I think they'll be doing just fine in regards to that. We see them still trying to manage the film and TV projects, trying to figure out what's canceled, what's not, what's going to be on HBO Max, how that's certainly going to work itself out. And Stuart, we've also seen them having to deal with the ramifications of Ezra Miller and the Flash situation. Now that we know that Ezra Miller has come out and mentioned the idea that not only does he apologize, but he's also going to be going to therapy so he can go and figure out some of his complex mental issues that he's certainly dealing with. So, Warner Brothers certainly still has to deal with that, along with really getting its slate under control as well. We've been seeing a couple of movies delayed, pushed back, more movies now in 2023, and in my eyes, to really kind of expand things out and figure out how where they certainly want to go. It does say that, however, that the new DC chief needs to find a new way to revive Superman. There are already several schools of thought here. One is to simply bring back Henry Cavill as the Man of Steel. Another would be to move forward with J.J. Abrams. He was supposed to have his script in for that as well, and would have reportedly been the first to feature a black Superman. Or option 3 is to start from scratch or proceed with both Abrams' Superman and Cavill's version of Superman at the same time. Stuart, if you had a choice, which would you prefer? I think you're muted.
I think if I had to choose, I would just go with bringing back Henry Cavill's Superman and then just kind of like holding off on any other Superman projects until you can like get this man a trilogy.
Yeah, that's personally would be my first choice here, but I do find it interesting that Variety's last topic that they bring out, Stuart, that one of the hurdles that DC has to overcome is in fact winning over the fans. And I thought this was a really interesting aspect to the article. Let's go ahead and bring this up here. So it says winning over the fans. Privately, studio insiders have lamented that Zack Snyder's Justice League never should have happened. Rather than quit the unceasing online campaigning to release the Snyder Cut, the 4-hour HBO Max feature only further entrenched the vocal and extremely online SnyderVerse fan base in opposition to the leadership at the studio in general and at DC in particular. This group may be hard to win over, but DC has to do a better job of cultivating the kind of compelling franchises that will enable them to build up the kind of passionate, engaging, and excited fan base that can drown out the haters. That takes patience, which has often been in short supply at DC, where corporate overlords have long made it clear that they want their own in-house rival to the MCU, but have failed to understand the kind of blood, sweat, and tears it can take to build to that kind of juggernaut. I do want to pick your brain here in regards to just that last section of winning the fans over. Privately, the studio's insiders saying that they lament the idea of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and it never should have happened. The idea that they shouldn't have released it because now that they have, it's almost like they said, entrenched the vocal and extremely online Snyderverse fan base in opposition almost to anything that they do at this point in time. So when you think of that, Stuart, how do you feel about it? Do you agree that that's a mindset that Warner Brothers should certainly have, that they should regret it, or do you think that they did the right thing overall?
Like, man, it's a tough one because I do think they did the right thing overall, and it's not just because of like the Snyder fans that really wanted it to be released. I think just in general, the way they handled Justice League, the way they handled replacing directors was very poorly, done. And I think like releasing the Snyder Cut was just a very good, was the closest thing to a real apology that they could give to Zack Snyder for the way certain things were handled on their end. And it sucks that like a lot of Snyder fans, couldn't just take the win and just let it go. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't express the idea that you would like it if Zack Snyder came back to the to the world of DC. That's fine, but they take it way too far sometimes by having bot accounts like trying to say restore the Snyderverse and all that stuff. So I can definitely see why DC sees it as like a mistake. It's like they did the right thing, and it's almost like Zack Snyder fans are kind of punishing them for doing the right thing, and it makes them kind of and now like I think pretty much any chance there ever was of Zack Snyder coming back to DC ever, I think Snyder fans are what ruined that, honestly. I think they've done more damage to the Snyder fans have done more damage to the Snyderverse than DC, to my opinion. And that's something I'm gonna stand by for a little bit. Maybe I'll take that back later, but for now I'm standing by that. So yeah, basically to answer your question, no, I don't think they made a mistake, and I think it sucks that the fans are putting him in a position where it feels like doing the right thing makes it feel like a mistake. You know what I mean?
Amen, Stuart. Amen, brother. I don't know if I could have said it any better myself. When I think of this, look, and I'm gonna be honest, I was definitely one of those people. Hashtag restore the Snyder Cut. When they announced it, I love this movement. I thought the movement was brilliant. I think I really appreciated the Snyder Cut fans for this movement and what I thought was their intentions at first, right? I mean, because it wasn't, hey, let's do this just for fans of Snyder to see this film. But I was always a very big believer that this man deserved to have what he created showcased, especially after the horrible circumstances that pulled him from this movie. I mean, the cast, the crew, everybody did put such hard work into creating this movie that really wanted to see them gain a victory in some sense, or all their hard work and the creation after such years finally being showcased to people. And when it was released, I think majority of people will say that's the much better cut than what was released theatrically. Now, would it have made any money as a 4-hour cut? Who certainly knows at the box office. But when you look at it in hindsight, such an incredible movie that I absolutely loved. I've seen maybe 2 or 3 times of sitting down and watching a 4-hour cut. It's pretty amazing. So I do think that Warner Brothers did the right thing in releasing it, but I hate the fact that they regret it now. And I say it's the regret just because of the fact of what the article said and what you stated, Stuart, that the SnyderVerse fan base have, and a part of my French here, but I'm just going to be raw and honest, have just become a bunch of entitled pricks. You know, you started off with really great intentions. You got what you asked for, unprecedented, right? Like no studio had ever done this before, to where Warner Brothers literally put in 70 million extra dollars, if not more, to go ahead and create this movie where they were already reluctant to do so in the beginning. And guess what, guys? You won. You got what you asked for. That's it. That's it. That's the end of it. Leave it alone. But no. You give them something and now they want more. And anything that you create after that is just bullshit to them because it's not part of the SnyderVerse. Listen, I think you can keep the SnyderVerse characters around, whether that be Ben Affleck, whether that be Henry Cavill to come back and reprise their role, but just go in a completely different path that maybe Snyder didn't have in mind, or bring in people to go ahead and create something brand new, certainly going forward. And I'm sure that still, Stuart, would not be sufficient enough for them unless it's Zack Snyder that's come back. And honestly, like, I've gotten so tired of seeing the Snyder fans just shit on everything that Warner Brothers does, whether it be Walter Hamada's stuff, whether that be David Zaslav stuff, certainly going forward, just the initial shitting on people because it's not your guy is so irritating to me. Like Marcelino says, he says, what's also irritating is that these Snyder fans were happy that Batgirl was canceled and saying that the people should stop being crybabies because that's the way the film industry works. It's like, if there's any bigger crybaby in this industry, it is the Zack Snyder restore the Snyderverse fans. And Stuart, and I made this comparison online too. Like, they have become the MAGA Republicans of politics for Warner Brothers. Like, they have become like the fucking extremists of fan bases, the most toxic fan bases I've ever seen, that like literally just makes me sick to my stomach now every time I see them, because it's just like, if you don't get what you want, you've become a bunch of entitled pricks and babies. And it is just it has turned into something that Warner Brothers should not even listen to. They should not even give them the time of day to even creep into their minds of, oh, are the Snyderverse fans going to be upset in what we create? No, you create what you want to create, Warner Brothers. And if that minority of fans don't want to jump on board, fuck them. Fuck them, David Zaslav. Do you? Because the moment you start letting these toxic ass fans, these entitled fans, start dictating the type of content that comes out, you've already failed. You've already failed. And so listen, great movement to start off with, but all of a sudden, with the bots and the shitting on movies that have been canceled, that people have put long, hard work into, just because, oh, it's not what Zack Snyder. Listen, I love Zack Snyder as much as the next person, but you got to move on with your life. You can't be sitting in these like alternate realities in your brain. Come back to Earth. Come back to Earth, my DC MAGAs. Okay, like we need some. I don't know, man. They've lost me, Stuart. They've lost me. And so, while I do think Warner Brothers certainly did do the right thing in releasing it, unfortunately, man, you know, you just got people that
deed goes unpunished.
Unpunished. Like, wow, unbelievable stuff, bro.
Yeah. I'm actually glad we're on the same page here, because I was like kind of curious what your thoughts were going to be. And yeah, it's it sucks. It's like one of the good things that Warner Brothers did, they're getting punished for. You know what I mean?
Unbelievable. And like you would think that they'd be like, "Yes, thank you, Warner Brothers. This is
Mhm.
all we wanted. You fulfilled our wish. We should be happy with what we got." And yet they're still not happy. And it's just like, see, now you just crossed the line from being a fan who legitimately cares about these actors and careers to now just being very self-entitled and just caring
Yeah.
about you getting what you want. And at the end of the day, man, that's just not good business for Warner Brothers to truly care. So it sucks that they feel this way, but I'm not blaming Warner Brothers Discovery for feeling that way at all, because it is that group of fans that have unfortunately taken their good deeds, like you said, and have really just run them through the ground despite giving them exactly what they want. That's as big of a fu and bird to give to somebody that I can honestly think of.
Yeah. Have you seen Sandman by any chance? The on Netflix?
Oh yeah, I haven't watched the whole season yet, just because I've had so much on my plate. But what I've seen so far, I've been a big fan of.
There's a thing with the very last episode. It's kind of a bonus episode at the end of season one.
Oh,
And I can't use the metaphor now because it's a little bit of a spoiler, but after you watch it, there's kind of a funny metaphor you could totally use with the last episode when it comes to Snyder fans.
Snyder fans. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out for sure. Then you
Or
said it was a
not,
bonus
sorry,
episode.
let me clarify. Not all Snyder fans, but specifically the kind of Snyder cultists is what I'm just going to start calling them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Snyder cultists. Because again,
Yeah.
I do think that there are good people out there. You know what I'm saying? That's on the DC fan base. There are people like myself that I think we had really great intentions for spreading the restore the SnyderVerse hashtag sort of thing. But at some point in time, bro, they jumped the shark big time. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't get there with you guys. So I'll stay over here on my side of things. But it is just a shame, just the fact that you give the fans something and they just shit on you still. I think that's just so incredibly disrespectful to me. But yeah, outside of that, Stuart, big changes certainly still are coming to Warner Brothers Discovery, and one of them is in fact DC fandom. I think as fans, we were really anticipating what DC fandom might have done later on this year, thinking, oh, maybe we'll get ourselves some surprises here. But unfortunately, guys, it has been canceled this year. Warner Brothers has said that they are canceling DC fandom this year, but for good reasons. If you ask me, up, up.
Hmm.
Okay, sorry. I get stuff in my ears.
The
Had some
sound was
audio.
on.
Yeah, the sound
Yeah.
was on. But it says, unfortunately, Warner Brothers Discovery has canceled this year's DC fandom, according to Popverse. This is what Warner Brothers Discovery says. With the return of in-person events, Warner Brothers Discovery is excited to be able to engage with our fans live at numerous Comic Cons around the world, and will not be scheduling DC fandom for 2022. What do you think about that, Stuart? Is that
I
a
mean,
bummer to you?
it's a bummer, but I can't say I'm surprised because I mean they're claiming it's because in conventions are back, but I think like the real reason is because they got nothing really to announce that's going to be set in stone. It would be I think it would disappoint a lot of fans if they had a DC fandom and then they were like, going over all the movies that are currently in development. Just, so like, for example, Blue Beetle, Zatanna, Aquaman, and all those movies. And then suddenly, kind of like a few months later, David Zaslav decides to can a lot of those movies later on. I think, yeah, having a DC fandom to hype it up just for it to be canceled would be a bad idea. And I think they know that. And I think that's the real reason behind why there isn't going to be one this year.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, considering just where Warner Brothers Discovery is at right now with their slate of films, a lot of the uncertainty that they certainly still have, just now getting and Dan Lin certainly in his position possibly to be the next DC chiefs of DC films and studios. I do think that they probably want to give themselves a little bit more time to figure things out before doing it. And I do think that because we are, like they said, we are getting back into conventions actually happening. I think DC fandom was created out of the social distancing sort of aspect of things at first. Maybe Warner Brothers also wanting to have their own sort of convention, maybe similar to that of what Marvel does with D23, having another place that they can come to. So I can see the idea of, hey, we really want to get back in front of the fans, to really enjoy that and be able to provide great content for them. I think maybe they probably look at San Diego Comic-Con also and see what happened with the Marvel panel and the excitement and the energy that being in front of the fans brought. And I think that's probably another thing that they really want to achieve for themselves to help get that excitement back. And so, to have maybe people wait till, say, maybe next San Diego Comic-Con to actually reveal a true slate, is pretty exciting if you can really build the hype up out into next summer. But there's a part of me that does hope that they do keep DC fandom in some capacity, whether that be online or they do change it to an in-person convention. I do think it would be wise for them to do so. If Marvel has a place to do that, I think DC should certainly have a place to do that. But I don't expect that to happen for another couple of years. But I understand the move here. As much as it sucks, I really wanted to see what they had in store or their plans. But maybe that's something you would want to hold off on for just a little bit longer. But I totally get it, though.
Yeah, I do think if there wasn't like the big changes going on, then we would have had a DC Fandome, and I don't know, we might have gotten some. We might have actually gotten a trailer for like Flashpoint and other things.
Yeah, and probably Batgirl too. I would think maybe a
Oh
Batgirl
yeah,
trailer at some point in time. That would have been great to see. But we'll definitely keep you guys posted on any other DC fandom or Warner Brothers Discovery updates as the weeks progress. And then our last but not least, Stuart, we got one last topic, and that is in the realm of DC once again. As believe it or not, Stuart, we're creeping up here on the fall schedule for the CW shows to certainly return. And one of those shows is, in fact, Stargirl, as season 3 is actually right around the corner. And
I
this
actually got to make an apology. I didn't realize until just last night that it actually started up this week. So I will get onto that review, and it should hopefully be up on Monday. I did actually have a chance to see it before going to bed.
Oh, wait, Stargirl already dropped? They already had episode 1?
Yeah,
Okay, see, I didn't even realize that, Stuart.
but I will have it up on Monday. I swear.
Okay, all right, no problem. Yeah, so guys, look forward to a Stargirl review for the beginning of season 3. But Brec Bassinger promises DC Stargirl season 3 murder mystery will shock you, is what it says. There is a small interview. They do go and say that tone wise, our showrunner Jeff Johns wants each season to be totally different, which we saw between seasons 1 and 2. And for season 3, he knew he wanted the supervillains and heroes living in a town in harmony. She also says it was actually our director stunt coordinator, Walter Garcia, who threw out the world a word frenemy. He was like, it's like they're frenemies. And Jeff Johns just jumped on that. He loved it so much it became the title of our season. So yeah, it seems as though season 3 title is frenemies. They also say, how is Courtney going to be handling juggling high school and all these reformed villains living in Blue Valley and this new murder mystery happening all the same time? She says, honestly, I love it because she's still so young and she makes a lot of mistakes this season. I love that because there's so much going on. And her heart wants one thing, but her team wants another. And she messes up. I think that's completely reasonable. Even though she's a superhero, she's still a person. She's still a teenager. That's been one of my favorite parts of getting to play Courtney is balancing being a superhero while also balancing high school and figuring out who you are. This season dives more into that work-life balance and how she navigates that. They also say, what can you tease about who the ultimate big bad of this season is as the JSA works to solve this murder mystery? She says, it will shock you. You will not see it coming. I think it was one of the only ones. I think it was maybe 3 people on set who knew the ending, me being one of them. And every person I've talked to when they read the script or the editors when they watched the first cut, they were all shocked. At different times of the season, you'll think it's different people, and every time you'll be wrong. The ending will shock you. So I'll leave it at that. But if you guys want to go ahead and check out the full article, you can over at entertainmentweekly.com, as it does in fact go over a much bigger interview than that. But Stuart, as the man that reviews Stargirl for us, what are your thoughts on hearing what Brec Bassinger has to say?
Really cool because yeah, I think they did last season when they decided to completely shift into more horror kind of season. It worked really well. Like I think Eclipso was actually one of the most like terrifying television villains. I know a lot of people will probably say the most recent villain from Stranger Things is probably up there, and
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
Vecna.
no, I think Eclipso is still scarier
Really?
than that guy.
Okay.
But that all being said, them switching to a murder mystery aspect, I think it's going to work really well. After seeing the first episode, it already did like one of my favorite tropes when it comes to murder mysteries, and that is you have the most obvious suspect be the first one to get murked, essentially at the very beginning, or not at the beginning. It actually wasn't until the end of the episode. But regardless, the one that I think like a lot of people would have normally suspected as the murderer is the one who gets murdered. So and then we have like the most obvious suspect, like that just happens to be in the same area, and we know it can't be that person because it'd be too obvious. So, it does all the tropes that I love. And as of now, having finished the first episode, I have zero idea who to expect to be behind this. They leave some clues, but it's hard to tell how many of those clues are actually connected and how many of them are just a red herring. Uh,
Mm.
you know, and what's cool too, I think my favorite thing about it is that they took their time with it, but it was never boring. They spent the entire episode kind of introducing all the characters we got because we know we got superheroes, super villains living together. And I think by the end of it, you have I personally, and I'm curious to see if anyone else has any guesses as to who it might be. I personally have zero idea who did it.
Do you think this is being an introduction to a brand new character, or do you think this is somebody that we've come to know already?
I feel like it's got to be someone we know already, and I say that because I feel like it wouldn't have gone out of its way to really recap every single character in the show
Mm.
and remind you like who's in the show, what's their role, and everything like that. So I feel like it's gonna be someone that we know, and I think that later on they may even try to trick us into thinking it's Mr. Bones because he was introduced at the very end of the last season. But
Mm.
again, I think he's going to be a red herring. I think he's going to be the overall main villain of the season, but I don't think he's going to be the murderer that they're looking for.
I haven't watched this season, but I will say, just hearing you explain that, there's a part of me that feels like, oh, it feels like that's like like the Clue movie where you
Yeah.
like introduce all the suspects or like let everybody know who they are, how they might fit into the overall story, so you see who all your players are in the big murder mystery. And I kind of dig that. It definitely makes me go back to thinking about Rian Johnson, who we just talked about in Knives Out, even classic Agatha Christie novels, and even some of the movies that they've done from some of her books and stuff, like was it Murder on the Oriental Express sort of thing. So like I kind of dig that idea. Like I do hope that it has sort of that murder mystery tone to this season while also being able to balance out the superhero aspects of it. So I am kind of looking forward to it. I still have not watched season 2 of Stargirl, Stewart. I definitely need to.
What?
I still need to go ahead and tackle that because
Oh, yes.
I do love Eclipso as a villain, and when you say that he's more terrifying than even Vecna was, that makes me really want to go back and check it out and see what his impact on this series was going to be. Do you need anything from me for the Stargirl reviews, like overlays or anything like that, or you have everything?
I think I still have all the overlays, so I should be good. I'll let you know like later tonight though.
Okay, awesome. But yeah, so definitely keep an eye out for Stewart's Stargirl reviews, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm eager for this. We'll see how the murder mystery turns out, and let us know your guys' thoughts if you have any suggestions or thoughts as to who the murderer might be. Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. All right, guys, and I think with that out of the way, Stuart, I think it's time for. I think you know what time it is now.
It is time for live viewer questions.
And we will be getting into your guys' questions. Let me go ahead and pull up our channel, and we'll go to our community tab, and we'll get this ball rolling. Let me see. I know some of you guys did send some questions in from the email, so get to those as well.
Would you be okay with answering the first couple questions without me? I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it, bro. Go for it. All right, so we're here at the YouTube page. We're going to go ahead and click on community and see what we got here so far. So we've got 10 comments or 10 questions so far. I'm going to go ahead and sort these out by newest first. All right. I'm going to go through some of these because if there's a lot of Power Ranger questions, I might hold off on like half of these. Let's see what you guys are saying. All right. So here, let me start from Marcelino Vasquez. When it comes to Power Rangers fandom, the majority are in agreement that Power Rangers has had a bad history using time travel, starting with the Wild Wild West Rangers and Mighty Morphin, the weird transition to Zeo with the Alien Rangers arc. Time Force barely had any time travel since a lot of people thought it would be similar to Doctor Who, making the series kind of misleading. To the worst example, the Dino Supercharged finale, which was so bad it had to be given its own parallel Earth just so that past continuity can still exist. What makes it even weirder is that bad seasons like Turbo and Ninja Steel made good time traveling episodes. Your thoughts on it? I mean, I don't know how to explain that to you. Turbo and Ninja Steel. Well, you know, Turbo was definitely under a different writing group. Ninja Steel definitely had some carryovers, I believe, from the Dino Supercharge, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, maybe that team that did Dino Supercharge, maybe they learned from their mistakes of creating that type of finale, and so maybe they had a better understanding of how to handle it when it comes to Ninja Steel. You know, time traveling is never easy to go ahead and try and explain a story. That's why I usually try and I hope people avoid time traveling, but it's always interesting to kind of see how people perceive it. Yeah, time traveling stories can definitely be hit or miss. What do you think, though, Stuart?
I think the issue with time traveling, depending on how you're doing it, like if you're doing it in the world like Power Rangers, DC, or Marvel, is that you're going to have several writers having their own interpretations of time travel. And so it makes for very inconsistent storytelling. Usually, time travel works best if it's in a movie where if it's like one person, you know, with their own set of rules writing what the time traveling rules are, because then you have less contradictions, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely get you there. Jessica Friedman also says, with the announcement of Cosmic Fury, are the plans for the MMPR reunion scrapped? And with Harley Quinn getting a fourth season, could Young Justice be next for a new season? I haven't heard anything about a new Young Justice season in the works or green lit as of yet. I know definitely Titans and Doom Patrol, but maybe Young Justice is that third. I haven't heard anything personally, Jessica, so I don't want to give you false information. Have you heard anything about Young Justice being greenlit for an additional season?
Not yet, but I do know that the writers themselves do have plenty of plans. So as long as they get the green light, I think they can keep the writers themselves can keep the show going for like several seasons.
Oh, okay. So we'll definitely keep you posted though, for sure. Um, as far as with the announcement of Cosmic Fury, are the plans for the MMPR reunion scrapped? I'm very much under the impression that they are. I don't know if it was the union situation. I don't know if it was any legal issues with the reunion being scrapped. If maybe some of the Rangers didn't want to return, that invitations have been sent out to. I'm really not too sure about the situation with that. Maybe that's a question that I'll ask Jinsaku sometime tomorrow as to whether or not, like, what's the deal with the yen situation and reunion. But I am under the impression that they have been scrapped, unfortunately. Blossom, did you hear about the new Giga Tokusatsu series Prism 3? It just came out and the Rangers are all girls. That doesn't surprise me when it comes to Giga Tokusatsu. I think Giga was, we did some reviews when we were A plus more phenomenal for Giga Tokusatsu. They did like little mini series here or there. Kind of very low budget, if you will, but I believe the production company was Adult Entertainment, Stuart. I think they were like a porn company,
Oh,
and they would do tokusatsu series based off of adult adult themes and entertainment and stuff. And so what they would do was they would make like the first half or the first 3 quarters of this series like safe for work environment type of stuff, with its little cheeky adult references here and there, you know what I mean, a little flirty stuff here and there. But then like the finale would be like a full on like not safe for work material, you know what I mean, to go ahead and wrap it up. So we would never I would never finish reviewing the damn series because I would just see what's available on their YouTube page, but I would never check out the finale itself. And so it's been a minute since I've checked out anything that Giga has done. So hearing of a Prism 3 sounds pretty cool, but does not surprise me that they're all women at the end of the day. Not at all.
It sounds very similar to the Pirates of the Caribbean like porn parody that ended up getting so popular because I think it was like one of the few pornos that had like a huge, like I want to say it was like a $20 million budget or something like that. So it was treated like an actual like action movie, but then of course, it had porn segments in between, but like it was so popular that they sold it at like Blockbuster, but you would be like a heavily edited down, like there would be nudity, but like no sex, you know what I mean?
Wow, I get you. Yeah, I get you. So yeah, interesting. Thank you for bringing that up. Blossom. No, she says for Cosmic Fear, I was afraid that they were going to use Q Ranger until I remembered they split with Toei. Even if that's the case, we'll still give other Sentai Rangers a home. I mean, I think it's still up in the air as to what they're going to be doing. I don't think it's out of question that there's a Q Ranger suit, maybe Kara Major suit. We talked about this last week, Stuart. I think everything is still up in the air. If it's original suits and original footage, who knows? Maybe they'll use the suit design, but still do original footage with no Sentai. I'm not sure, but I would say, Blossom, I wouldn't cancel out Q Ranger yet, or even Kara Major for that matter. It's still very much a wait and see.
Yeah, and the thing is about the split, if it, and again, I'm not trying to take sides on whether or not the split is real or fake because it still hasn't been 100% confirmed yet, either way. But even if it is like a real split that happened, the split would have happened after, split happened after Q Ranger, which makes me think that, and same with Kira Major, which makes me think that they might still have the rights to those, even if they haven't adapted them yet.
Yeah, they certainly might. And I think when we think of like splitting, I almost want to go back and see if I can find that original Illuminati article. Because one of the things that I said in my previous report was when that news first came out, right? As when we're thinking of the term splitting, I'm not even saying that Hasbro and Toei have any animosity towards each other. I think it could simply just be the decision for Hasbro to no longer wish to use Sentai footage. And I do believe that there is a possibility in the world that we live in that Toei just said, okay, that's cool. Maybe their rights have finished after maybe say a Q Ranger, maybe after a Kira Major, who certainly knows. Maybe they still have rights to utilize some things, but maybe it's a choice by Hasbro to not want to use Sentai footage. That would certainly be a certain type of splitting in its own right. But when people think of splitting, I think they think of it as like an animosity sort of thing, like they just don't get along or whatever the case may be. And I don't think that's the case. I do think that they still work in harmony with each other, and maybe respect the different creative choices that they maybe as companies both want to go down. That's kind of how I've pictured it. But I do want to go back and read that original Illuminati article.
I think you're spot on because, without the Sentai footage, Power Rangers is a lot less limited to, the themes and, everything that they use. And then Super Sentai doesn't have to dumb down a lot of its, creativity for American audiences, if that makes sense. Like, this is why I think the split is real, because Zenkaiger and Dawn Brothers, I don't think they would look the way they do if they had any suspicion or if they thought we might be adapting those to the Power Rangers. I think they only went all out with those because they knew, hey, America's done with adapting our show into Power Rangers.
Right, and yeah, absolutely. I do think you're on to something there too with that. Good old Jack Daniels, because there's 5 o'clock somewhere. I really wanted to ask this: what do you guys think of the Fast and the Furious movie franchise, and your reaction to how Fast 7 paid tribute to Paul Walker after his unexpected death? My friend and I binged the entire 9 installments this past week. Yo, you're a braver man than I am, and it was so much fun and emotional when we reached Fast 7. I think we've joked about that story. Like, man, maybe me and the girlfriend need to go down a Fast and the Furious marathon and check that out. Because I did not. The last Fast and the Furious movie I watched was the Paul Walker one, and I don't even think I finished it honestly, or even fully watched it because it was Paul Walker's last one, and I just didn't want the emotional heartstrings. It was just still pretty raw at the time, and I just never. I don't think I watched it fully, and then just didn't watch anything after that. So there is definitely a marathon watch in my life at some point in time. Jack Daniels, definitely something I'm gonna have to do. So I'm glad that you certainly checked it out. But Stuart, what do you think of the franchise and your reaction to how they paid tribute to Paul Walker?
I love the Fast and Furious franchise. It's they're exactly what you expect, and as long as you know that going in, you're gonna have a blast. And I think the way they paid tribute to Paul Walker was as respectful as you possibly could do it. And I like that they had his brother there as a stand-in. I didn't even notice that it wasn't Paul Walker at the end. I think they did a good job digitizing his face on his brother. So he had that really nice tribute. I think the only time it comes off as weird is in the next movie when Vin Diesel names his kid after Brian. And that's a little weird only because they treat it like Brian's dead, and in the franchise he is still alive. So it's like in that sense is kind of weird. But I think the overall how the seventh movie was done, I think was incredible and very respectful. And it's interesting too, because originally from what I hear, and I'm curious if this is true or not, they were originally planning to kill off Brian in the seventh movie, but then they didn't because the actor had passed away.
Oh, I can see that happening. I can see that happening. But we'll have to see. We'll definitely do some research in regards to that. Carlo Bernardo, what were some of your guys' favorite panels from Power Morphicon this year? And what do you wish was better or on par with the past Power Morphicon panel? Since you were there firsthand, Stuart, do you have any? I would like you to answer this question. Did you have a favorite panel that you watched, and what do you wish was better or on par with past Power Morphicons?
I can't answer the second half of that because I've only been to this
Oh,
one.
that's right. This is your one. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I guess I could technically, but I'll go with my favorite one first. I think it was the Time Force panel that Jinsaku actually was moderating, because the cast of Time Force, you could tell, really get along with each other, and it's kind of cool hearing some inside stories of what it was like filming there at the time, and how they all kind of knew Power Rangers was popular. They didn't really realize how popular it was, and they didn't realize that they were kind of a very different season compared to the others. What I also loved about it is Chip Lynn was there at the end, but
Nice.
you could kind of tell he wasn't planning on it, because he was just in the audience and they kind of called him up and he's sitting there nervously. So there was one time where someone was asking him about whether or not the Time Force movie would have what would stop the movie from happening. They hand the mic over to Chip, and Chip just doesn't say anything. He's just but yeah, it was a funny panel overall. I think the cast chemistry is what made it really enjoyable to watch. But I guess the only thing I wish they could have done, but obviously it would have been impossible with the type of season that we're going to have next year. It does kind of suck that I never got to witness a passing the mantle thing that we usually get to see at other Morphicons. And that's my own fault for not going to the Power Morphicon 4 years ago when I had the chance. So yeah, it does suck that I never get to witness, the passing the mantle part, but everything else about it was great. Including the Dino Fury panel overall, getting that little teaser.
Yeah, that was a little bit bummer that we didn't necessarily get that passing of the torch down. They would have been pretty cool to kind of see the cast actually come out in the costumes and stuff. But one of the things that I feel like I'm learning more about is how long that they've actually been preparing for this season. I think Simon Bennett revealed that they have been in talks for this upcoming season since like last March, I think, of last year. So they
Oh
might have
wow.
already had opportunities to be writing the next the show for quite some time. So I will be interesting to kind of learn a little bit more about that. But it would have been cool. Like I do wish that that information hadn't leaked as early as it did, because I do think that that panel would have been even more rambunctious. Honestly, I think people would have
Yeah.
been hyped.
If they didn't do the which is funny because I find myself, I've also made that mistake when it comes to uploading videos on YouTube. Like
Oh yeah, me
I'll get
too.
a message from you every once in a while and you'll be like, why'd you set the video for tomorrow? And I'm like, wait, what? And yeah, like the whole like AM PM thing, it's like I've done that before, so I get it. But yeah, it was a little bit disappointing that they did that.
Yeah, when scheduling videos, for some reason, it automatically schedules it for the next day. Like like we really have to pay attention to schedule it for the same day if we want it the same day, because it automatically will bump it to the following day. It's happened to me several times, man. So I get the struggle. Let's see here. Dino Knight Fight for Your Rights says this is just a what if, but it would be so cool if Dino Fury season 2 episode 14 Ravcon revealed. Not only do we finally learn the truth of Ravcon and finally Tarek and Centaur's backstory, but also the Ravcon Rangers are actually alive and they team up with the current Dino Fury team alongside Zato and Ion. Perhaps the Morphin Masters are able to give them their Ranger powers, so Zordon's too much pink energy rule doesn't apply. I remember in episode 15 of season 1, Ancient History, during Ion's flashback vision, we only saw him and Zato get transported into stasis pods, but not the others. So it's possible that the Ravcon Rangers could have survived the evacuation. I'm trying to remember if I saw any other pods being ejected from the Megazord in that scene.
I'm not sure.
But it would be a pretty cool what if. I wouldn't mind seeing the Dino Fury team from Ravcon return at some point in time.
And you know, it'd be kind of cool if we got like even if it ends up being the Dino Fury outfits, but like kind of new variation on it. It'd be kind of cool if we got like a much bigger team going into season 3, so we get like some of the older, like the other 4 Rangers that we haven't
From
seen
the
yet
past.
from that team,
Oh
and
yeah.
they all kind of join. Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. Stuart says, "Hi everyone, happy belated National Power Rangers Day. I'm not sure if you were already asking this before, but how amazing has Dino Fury been so far? It really is one of my top favorite series in the franchise. Do you agree with me that the writers have learned a lot from their last Neo Saban seasons, even Beast Morphers, where most of the storylines, aside from the major ones, have been resolved? I still remember in the past seasons things were left open and never resolved. Yeah, and I do think it's a lot to do with Saban not being attached to the season anymore. I do think it's allowed these writers to tap into something that they were unable to before, that Saban just did not want them to. And I think they're really showcasing that they do have range in regards to the levels of storytelling that they can certainly tell, especially, again, still trying to keep it within the kids programming aspect of things. But you know, I don't think anybody can tell me that they haven't improved upon their time in Neo Saban. And again, this is the same writers, y'all. So I think at the end of the day, it just shows how much of a problem Saban really was to the franchise, or a detriment, I should say. But what do you think? You agree with Stuart here, Stuart? How?
Yeah, you know, I think that, yeah, I think like, you know, what you said, he definitely has a bit of a dated mindset when it comes to kids television. And I think that the Saban seasons that worked the best were the ones that he was not really involved that much with. Like, so basically, ever since like In Space all the way up to Wild Force, that was when he was just kind of like, okay, I'll give you some notes here and there, but for the most part, I trust the writers to just do what they're going to do. And it's unfortunate that he didn't have that mindset when it came to the Neo Saban era.
Definitely. Let's see here. Who else we got? Good old Indy in here. He says, "I miss you guys. We miss you too, bro. We miss you too, Indy." Um, Ditilla says, "In the 80s, there was an attempt to bring the MCU to live, and it started off with the Incredible Hulk series, which was very popular. After the Incredible Hulk was canceled by CBS, New World purchased the rights. They used the Hulk series as a springboard to introduce Thor, Daredevil, and Kingpin. Yet none of these planned series took off. What do you think was different back then compared to now that the MCU failed? And why do you think it's become successful now? I mean, that's a loaded question, Datilla. First off, shout out to the classic Incredible Hulk. Good old Lou Ferrigno. Interviewed him once. He was an incredible dude, intimidating, but incredible nice guy. Just in general, it's like, oh my god, this is Lou. But yeah, I used to watch the series back in the day, or at least repeats, I should say. I was even still, I think, maybe even before my time a little bit. But it was definitely a different type of series, Stuart. I just don't know. I'm just trying to think. Why do you think those MCU characters failed then compared to now?
Well, I think there were a couple factors. One of the biggest factors was that the network CBS didn't actually own the likeness or the rights to these characters. So that means that it would have been like they would have not only would the budget have gone into, producing these shows, but it would have had to go into like paying a license fee every year to keeping these characters. Kind of the same reason that Krypton unfortunately didn't last for more than 2 seasons on Sci-Fi. So I think that was kind of the major factor. And, creating a whole cinematic universe at the time, like in the 80s, I don't think was something that people had even thought about or think that was like a concept that people thought could even work. So I think it was a mixture of those two. They just weren't ready to take that big risk yet. And it was going to be, unfortunately, another 30 years before they did.
Man, that's kind of crazy, but this just shows you the interesting path that the MCU found itself on, from those classic series back in the 80s to, even the movies back in the 90s or early 2000s of Fantastic Four and Blade and X-Men and Daredevil, and them really eventually taking the next step up into the MCU that we've seen today. Definitely just all those television series and movies, I think definitely helped just bring awareness to the MCU and Marvel Comics and just those characters in general. And I just think budgets and special effects have really just grown over the years to where you can achieve what you visually see in the comic books. And I do think that just that time period back in the 80s, you were very limited in what you could do. And I don't know what the mindset of people in the 80s were thinking. Like, I don't know if they looked in the 80s and thought to themselves, man, I wish this show looked better, or man, I wish these special effects or stunts were done better, or if they looked at them back then and were like, man, this is pretty impressive, for what they were seeing at that time. I don't really know, but looking at it now, I mean, you could do anything. You don't have those barriers anymore to hold you back. So a lot has definitely changed. Let's see here. We got Adrian Perez. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. By now, you've all heard that Cosmic Fury has officially been revealed. This is the 30th anniversary. My question for you all, does this make you guys feel like all the rumors and speculation made by the Illuminati were really just rumors and speculation, and make you doubt him when it comes to future details? Pretty much everything from the MMPR reunion and Yen character have been scrapped. What do you think, Stuart?
I think plans change a lot, so I don't necessarily think that they were incorrect at the time when they released this information. I think what they did is they took plans that people had for the 30th anniversary without like thinking whether or not they could actually go through with a lot of them. And I think that's I think that was like a big factor into it, is they were just like, okay, this is like what they have planned. And I think over time they were like, this would be cool, but unfortunately I don't see it happening,
Right. And I do think that when it comes to the Illuminati, I think if you read carefully, I do think that they've been very adamant about understanding, or at least putting forward, that things can change, that these are just rumors, that take stuff with grains of salt, sort of thing, right? They're just passing on information that they're hearing from their sources. And I do think if you take what they're saying at face value, then yeah, you're probably going to be disappointed. But I there's the one thing that I continue to tell people this, and maybe this is a conversation me and Jinsaku need to have tomorrow, is that this stuff, guys, like, we're not even supposed to know the rumors and the speculation that are going on behind the scenes. because of things like this, because things do change over time. And when you're years away from actually being put into production, nothing is ever set in stone until you get in front of the camera. And even till then, I'm sure that there are still rewrites happening and decisions that are certainly being made. And maybe that's in the movie realm. I don't know how it works when it comes to like television in regards to changing things on the fly. But a lot of this stuff I feel like has been put forward as speculation. I don't even say as speculation, but really as rumors or as grains of salt. I mean, I think even in the way that uh, you word it, does this make you guys feel like all the rumors and speculation made by the Illuminati's were really just all rumors and speculation? I mean, I don't think it was them making stuff up, if that's what you're asking me. I do believe that they do have sources, and there
Mhm.
are certainly things that they've talked about that certainly have come to fruition as well. And Stuart, one of the things that I've even said in past articles was, like, again, I don't even know if Joe knew this, but in some of his interviews that he's had with past Dino Fury Rangers, or even topics that he's brought up on the Illuminati YouTube, he's touted the idea of a possible Dino Fury season 3. And I've said before in some of my videos, I don't think Joe would just loosely throw that concept out there or that question out there if he didn't think that something like that was even a possibility. And so I tell people all the time, one, the Illuminati has gotten things right before. That is fact. I'm not making that up to you. There are plenty of articles that the Illuminati have gotten right that have come true before other big sources have picked them up, like Variety, to where Deadline has probably had to give them recognition for, hey, they actually called this months ago. So I've seen it with my own eyes that the Illuminati does get things correct from time to time. But I also do think when we read these articles, when we hear what the Illuminati has to say, I think we have to read very clearly the words that are being said and how their sources are laying it out. Because I've never come across the Illuminati saying, this is factual. This is exactly how it's going to happen. I think they've always have tried to word it in a way that has kept the doors open so that if changes do come, you understand why that has happened. And again, this is information that we should not even know as fans. So I guess maybe there's a pushback that you can say here, Stuart. Like, if fans aren't supposed to know that, maybe they shouldn't be reporting it in the first place, right? You could easily say that. But there are fans that do love them some rumors and some good speculation out there, right? There's a reason why there's a spoiler section for certain things, because people enjoy kind of talking about that. But I can't put the blame on the Illuminati for running with rumors and speculations that they've heard, that some things haven't come true and some things have. It could be a hit or miss sometimes, but I do believe the words um when the Illuminati and Jinsaku speak them. Whether or not they come to fruition, I don't think it's on them. I think it's just a matter of what final decision has Hasbro come up with.
Yeah, 100% agree. And let's not forget, where did we first hear about the Dino team up?
Oh yeah, we heard it from them.
Yeah, exactly. Like before the trailers came out, before like it was officially announced, it was the Illuminati was the first one to like have the article that stated Austin St. John is reprising his role for for the Dino team up in Beast Morphers. They never tried to like make it seem like it was anything more than that. They never even said anything about the Dino Charge Rangers. They just said Austin St. John, and like when people were questioning them about it, they even said, "Hey, this isn't like something we blindsided him with. We asked him beforehand, or we told him beforehand what the questions were going to be, and he was totally okay with like telling us, personally that yeah, I'm going to be coming back for the first time as as Jason."
Yeah, and they also were the first ones to report, I believe maybe when Joe was part of the hashtag show, I can't remember, about Dr. K returning for Beast Morphers.
That's
Uh,
right.
They also went ahead and were the first ones to reveal that Real Soldier was going to be adapted into Dino Fury, and nobody wanted to believe them then. And we got Dino Fury on our hands, right? So, everybody's going to pick and choose all the time when things don't go their way or we get news that doesn't quite fit up with the Illuminati. They're always going to lean back on some of the things maybe they got wrong, but at the end of the day, I don't even say it as they got it wrong so much as plans have just changed, and nothing is concrete until Hasbro makes things official, unfortunately. So I think that's something that we as fans also have to understand.
Mhm.
Um, Roberto, what's up, Roberto? Now that the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers is finally official, my theory on how Dino Fury Rangers get their new powers, perhaps after the final battle, something happens to the Rangers' powers when they can no longer function, but the Morphing Masters stick around and tell them that there's a new threat on another planet, and the Rangers have to go to space. The Masters use their powers to transport them. A brand new energy source is what the Dino Fury team need to become Cosmic Fury Rangers. Or maybe if David Yost were to return, what if what if he is notified of the new threat and he contacts the team? Mm.
That'd be a great after credit stinger because you wouldn't even have to film that in New Zealand. You could just
Yes.
get like a soundstage for rent out a soundstage for like an hour, film David Yost on Aquatar, and then him like getting an alert from something on his computer and him being like, we're going to need a new team for this. And then just end it
Ah.
there.
Oh, I dig that. I dig that. So that definitely could work, Roberto, for sure. As far as the morphing masters like transporting them to another planet, there's a part of me that thinks that their base will turn into a spaceship. I don't know why, Stuart.
Yeah.
I have this belief that the command center is just gonna literally just come out of the freaking ground and out of the forest and take them wherever they certainly want to. I do think that's a fully functional ship underground.
I think, yeah, I don't know if they've ever confirmed it in the show, but I'm pretty sure it's the same ship that they use to, go from Rathcon to Earth. So I think
Oh,
it's just a matter of getting it up and running. And because, we got two techies on the team, we got, why did I forget her name?
Ollie?
The dinosaur and Ollie, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
dinosaur too. I feel like
Along.
between the two of them, they can like figure it out. And who
Yeah.
knows, maybe Mechanic will come back and help them.
Yes, yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Definitely be a good reason for Mick to certainly reprise his role.
Yeah,
Uh,
since they're leaving Earth, they're going to need like a new comedic relief.
Yes, I'm so down for it. I'm so down for it. Power Rangers Legacy says, I'm sorry if you've already asked this later today. With the final half of Power Rangers Dino Fury quickly approaching September 29th, if I'm not mistaken. What do you hope to see that would blow your mind and could possibly segue to Cosmic Fury? Do you hope the main story of Dino Fury will conclude before possibly giving us a teaser to Cosmic Fury ending?
Yeah, I do hope that for the most part, everything like that we got in Dino Fury gets wrapped up. The only thing I'd be okay with them leaving open is if Lord Zed is still alive at the end of the season. But I'm kind of hoping that everything in terms of Void King and Void Queen are like kind of wrapped up.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping the main storyline is wrapped up and we see a bigger threat kind of emerge, that really forces them to have to go out there. Clearly, they do find Rafcon in Dino Fury season 2, so I was kind of under the impression that maybe they still didn't locate Rafcon, and would have to go out into the stars to try and locate them. I think for me, something that would blow my mind would probably be an arrival of like an in space ranger, to maybe help motivate them to having to even go into space in the first place, either in space or Lost Galaxy. I would be really thrilled with like a surprise cameo in the finale, to help lead them into going where they need to go for Dino Fury. That's how I personally would like to see it. Or if it's not like a past ranger that comes in asking for help, then maybe like a whole nother team of rangers from outer space that we've yet to meet, and maybe that's where they bring on the Dino Fury cast to be a part of their mega team for all we know. But either one returning cast member from in space or in galaxy, or an entire Power Ranger team show up in the finale to take them out there. I would love that. Let's see here. Most talented man in the world. I suck my own balls. He says, "What do you think of the deleted scene of Spider-Man: No Way Home of Charlie Cox as Daredevil in an actual office, which has 11 minutes of new footage?" I hadn't seen that. Have you seen that, Stuart?
No, I've well, I saw the one deleted scene with Daredevil and Happy, with them in court together, Happy sweating, and then Daredevil being, or then Charlie being, or sorry, Matt Murdock being like, Happy, please stop sweating, and then Happy being like, how do you do that? Because it's supposed to be going on at the exact same time where Peter's bringing in all the villains to his apartment. So like we cut to Happy and we see him looking at the security footage on his phone, and while that's going on, he's right next to Matt Murdock. But I only saw that on YouTube. I haven't like watched the full extended cut yet.
Is that like one of the reasons why they're re-releasing No Way Home? Like, is that
Yeah.
with deleted scene footage?
Yeah, and it's not like Avengers Endgame where it's like the deleted scene comes in at the very end of the movie and it's like not a real extended cut. This is an actual like extended cut of the movie from what I've seen.
Oh, I hadn't even heard of that really. So that's pretty cool. That's I learned about that today. I'm gonna have to check that out. Is it available on YouTube, the 11 minutes?
I don't think the 11 minutes are. I know that one scene was available, and I know that the movie it's playing in select theaters. I think we had it at our theater for like a day or two.
So it's not on Disney Plus? Like they didn't add it into the Disney Plus cut or anything like that?
No, not yet. I think this will be like I think this will be one of those cuts where it's like, no, we want you to like buy this one.
To
We don't
buy
want
it.
to get we're not going to give you this stuff for free.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. But thank you for the heads up. Doomsday says, I read on Ranger Wiki that the penultimate episode of Dino Fury season 2 will finally give us the revelation of what happened to Amelia's parents. What do you think happened to them? Do you think that they're sent Void King and Queen, Stuart?
That's the strongest theory I've heard so far, and yeah, I'm inclined to kind of be on that side for now. At the very least, I don't think Amelia is human, just because there was that one implication with the cake and how she was like the only
She was
one
the
who
one that liked
liked
it.
it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I feel like that's an implication that she's an alien.
Okay, you might be onto something there. I still don't know what to think of Amelia, bro. Like, I really don't. I do hope that they reveal who her parents are this season for sure. I think it would be pretty cool. Like, I would just say this: if it is Amelia, if Amelia is Void King and Queen's daughter, Simon, I'm gonna need a really good explanation. I'm gonna need a really good
Yeah.
explanation. And the only reason why I say that is I don't feel like personally they've teased us enough with details that hey, Amelia and Void King and Queen are definitely related. Um, so if they are, I'm definitely going to have Simon Bennett point out some connective tissues that we have yet to see, and maybe some great flashback sequences, some great flashback moments. If they can do that and make it a compelling story, I would be completely open to it. But yeah, I guess for me, if I were to go down that route, one of the things that I did mention when he says, what do you think happened to them? I don't know if they were escaping Rafcon. I don't know if they I don't know what happened to them, but the fact that Void Queen has this animosity towards humans, and yet Void King doesn't really have that same intensity. He just wants to just get off this fucking planet as quickly as he can with the love of his life. That animosity from Void Queen, there's a part of me that wonders like if she harbors some ill will towards humans because maybe they did kidnap Amelia. Like maybe it was a crash landing and maybe whoever came across her, she was the only person or thing that was found on the ship, and maybe she was raised to be somebody's own, or maybe the government came and took Amelia at a very young age before she went, and whoever winds up adopting her or whatever the case may be, or Pop. I have no idea. Like Pop, is that even her real grandfather?
Yeah, I was about to say he worked at area. God damn it! I keep wanting to say it's Area 51, but it's Area 62.
62. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So maybe
he
he
worked
rescued
there.
her.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe they kidnapped this kid. I mean, if it's Area 62, you got to think that they're probably into supernatural type of stuff. So maybe they saw a UFO crash land. Maybe they went to find it and they found Amelia. And Pop was working there, and he saved her from experiments or whatever was happening, and he wind up making this story up to kind of hide her and protect her so people wouldn't find out who she really is. But Santora knows, and maybe that's why she wants to destroy everything, because they've taken their child. I mean, that's a reason to destroy people for sure. I would do anything to save my child. So I think maybe that's, if I were to take a leap into theory, that would probably be my theory as to what happened to them. Maybe they got captured. Maybe they were being experimented on. Maybe Void King was the only one that really managed to stay away or not be captured by them. I have no idea, Stuart. But yeah, that's what I'm going to go with right now. Let's see here. Do I have any other questions? I believe that's all the questions from the live viewer questions. Let me see if there is. I'm going to go through the emails real quick too. Gabriel Glasgow, for that 90s show, I read that the key major thing that the sequel or spin-off series needs to do in order to be a huge hit as another classic sitcom revival series, the show needs to acknowledge that Jackie and Fez are likely not together anymore. A lot of the fans from the original 70s show were very very unpressed or impressed, unpressed maybe, that Jackie and Fez became a couple, while some were happy. Perhaps Jackie and Kelso got together again, which would be nice to nod to both Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher being married in real life, but could also show that Kelso didn't want to be a single father anymore after having a baby girl at the end of the series. End of the series hinted that Kelso decided to marry the mother of this child, Brooke. Yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think they need to
Um,
explain, like, or them not be together anymore?
I don't think that it needs to happen that way, but I wouldn't mind it because yeah, I was personally like kind of rooting for Jackie and Hyde. Like I wasn't even like a Jackie and Kelso kind of dude. I think the two of them made each other worse, but like Jackie and Hyde, they made each other better. So I think those are the type of relationships that are like more interesting with television. Whereas like her and Fez were just so like neutral. It just it never felt like there was chemistry. I kind of liked it better when Fez was the one who had a crush on her and she was just like not into him.
Yeah, no, I did like that chemistry better. I did like the way that was used. Let me see. Ram Jam also says, "Hey Adam, hope you're well. Couple of questions with the cast of Dino Fury returning from Dino for Cosmic Fury. Do you think they'll have the same concept like season 2 of MMPR, where they lose their powers and Zords and get new ones? And do you think their new suits will be a combination of Kira Major and Q Ranger? Keep up the good work."
Hmm.
I don't necessarily feel like I need them to lose their powers and Zords. I think it would be cool if it's just considered like an upgrade to the powers that they certainly already have. What do you think? Do you think they'll lose their powers and Zords maybe in a climactic battle and need to get new ones? Or do you think they're just going to be upgraded from what they have now?
I think they're just going to be upgraded from what they have now, and I think I think I mentioned this as like my theory of why they're moving to a bigger studio. I think we might be getting some of the first original sword fights in Power Rangers, or sorry, the first like original sword fights that don't utilize CG. Um, that's my theory.
Yeah, I'm hoping you're right about that, man. I really would like to see original. Like, I have no problem with them utilizing suits of the past if they decide to go that route. I personally would like new design suits. My thing is, I really would like them to just do original footage and original storyline, if you ask me, especially with Dino Fury only being set for one season, if I'm not mistaken, as of right now. So I do think, and again, I do think if they have been working on this as far back as Simon Bennett has mentioned, which I do believe I read that he had started writing this back in March. Maybe that has given them enough time to really go full on original if they want to. So I'm cool with original suits or even Sentai adapted suits as long as it's original footage. That's truly what I would like to see at the end of the day, though. But that just could just be me.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Nicole Robertson says, "What were some of your initial reactions when the MCU first announced Tom Holland as Peter Parker? And did you ever imagine that years later he would give by far the best Spider-Man trilogy and ending?" For me, when I heard the announcement of Tom Holland, I was a big fan of the choice. I think for me, I had it between him and Isa Butterfield.
Mhm.
I really liked him. I thought he would make a really great. He was a really strong actor, and I thought he'd make a great Peter Parker. But they announced Tom Holland, and I had no doubts about it. Um, I had seen him in The Impossible, I believe, with Ewan McGregor, and he was great as a young kid in that movie. And I hadn't seen him too much outside of anything else, with the exception of like the lip sync performance that he did as Rihanna in the umbrella performance that he wind up doing in the rain or in the water. He was doing all sorts of flips and shit, and I'm like, "Yep, that's our Spider-Man." But yeah, I was really pleased with the announcement. What about you? What was your reaction when you heard him?
Well, my first reaction was, I can't believe it's not Butterfield.
Yeah, I
But
thought it was
then
gonna be him.
but yeah, no, I think Tom Holland did an excellent job as Peter Parker, and yeah, I wasn't sure like the type of performance he was going to give because I don't think I had seen him in anything before Captain America: Civil War. But like the moment I saw him in Captain America: Civil War, the moment I saw his chemistry with the other Avengers, that was when I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely the MCU Spider-Man I wanted to see.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you there. It's funny that we had Butterfield too up there as our some of our finalists. This might be the last question for us here today, guys. Again, I do have a couple other questions that are Power Ranger related. If anything, I am going to be trying to connect with Jinsaku this week, hopefully tomorrow, to either record or go live. So I am probably, if anything, going to hold on to some of these live viewer questions and maybe go through them with Jinsaku sometime tomorrow. But I'll definitely keep you guys posted. So in the meantime, our last question for today comes from Francois Dupont. Bonjour à tous. I could completely butcher that, Francois. I'm sorry. With the unfortunate passing of Olivia Newton-John, who was best known as Sandy in the Grease movie alongside John Travolta, what were some of your favorite scenes and moments from the Grease movie? My sisters are a huge fan of Olivia Newton-John and have seen the movie so many times since. They are big fans of musicals. What's your relationship with Grease, Stuart? And do you have any favorite scenes or moments from the movie?
Oh, man, I actually got a good relationship with Grease because in fifth grade, we did a play of Grease, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. Oh, God, what is my favorite moment from that movie? I guess maybe the Grease Lightning song, if I had to pick.
Oh, okay, okay. I
Yeah,
like it. I like it.
and I think it's really just because I had so much fun. That was like actually for me the most fun song to sing
Song to
when we
sing.
were performing it. So yeah.
Is performing Grease like mandatory in every elementary school or like high school as a musical performance? I only ask that because we had to do a Grease performance also.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we had a music class. I can't remember what grade I was in. Maybe it was like 8th grade or some shit like that. It was a music class that we had. And instead of instruments, because we went to a Catholic school, it was like we became like choir. So I remember they had us watch the movie, and then our teacher literally had like 5 or 6 songs or however many songs that we had to sing from the movie itself. And ever since then, I was a big Grease fan. Like I absolutely really enjoy the movie a lot. So yeah, I definitely have a great relationship with it. And while I do like musicals, I never really got super heavy into musicals. There are some that I have enjoyed, some that I kind of refuse to. So I don't want to say refuse, but still haven't seen. Like I haven't seen Chicago. I haven't seen Hairspray, the John Travolta one that he was in. Also, I've seen like La La Land in theaters. What else have I seen in theater? Oh, I saw Into the Heights, the HBO Max one that they just recently had. There was the other one by Nicole Kidman and uh, Ewan McGregor.
Oh,
It's like the one of the biggest. Baton was it Moulin Rouge.
yeah.
Moulin Rouge. That was another great one. Also, big fan of that. But I'm trying to think favorite moments uh, and scenes. Definitely the for me, hands down, the dance montage or the dancing competition
Mm.
in the gymnasium. Every time that fucking song comes on and I see John Travolta and them just going back, bro, I want to get in that mosh. I want to get into that dance mob so fucking badly. I absolutely love dancing, and so that was one of my favorite moments for sure. And then the summertime, when John and Sandy are singing on the bleachers back and forth
Mhm.
with their boys and their girls about their summertime adventures. Those are probably my two favorite moments of the movie.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
That's a good one.
yeah.
I appreciate it, friend Swan. Thank you very much for that question, sir. So yeah, I've got a couple questions left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 questions here, and I think we got through all the questions in off of the community tab, guys. So thank you very much. And again, we will be doing another video tomorrow, Power Ranger related, to go ahead and focus on some additional questions that we might have missed. So patience, guys, and we definitely will be getting to those. But Stuart, I think other than that, man, I think that's gonna wrap up our episode here today. So thank you so much, man, for joining me here on your weekend.
Thank you for having me.
I'm trying to think if there's any announcements to look forward to. Again, Stuart will be doing Stargirl for you guys, so keep your eye out on his review. Indy did go ahead and post his episode 3 She-Hulk review. If you have not had the opportunity to check it out, we've got House of the Dragon dropping tonight, episode 3. So definitely go ahead and check it out. And Indy will have his review up for you guys tomorrow. And then I've got my Rings of Power review coming your guys' way this week from episodes 1 and 2 that dropped this past Friday, and a Power Ranger video for you guys as well. So a ton of content still certainly headed your way. So if you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and also click that bell notification so when we drop brand new videos, you will certainly be notified. And hit that like button if you continue to like our content each and every week. It all goes a long way, ladies and gentlemen. But other than that, Stuart, I think that's going to wrap it up for us here, buddy. If people need to reach you on social media, where can they find you?
You guys can find me over on Twitter at TurboStew01.
Awesome, man. If you want to go ahead and follow us, you can do so at any time right up here at A Plus Opinions. Very active over on Twitter as well as Instagram, and most importantly, our Facebook page. Definitely go ahead and check us out over there, guys. And that's going to do it for us here, but we certainly will be back next weekend for you guys for another episode of A Plus Hero Report. Join us live Sunday at noon Central Time. And until then, do us a big favor. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A plus. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.